Chapter 2898. Carve the words on the stone tablet and put it at the foot of the mountain. At that time, no one will dare to bully you and cheat others in the name of the Tang's chicken farm. Tang Guo was a little happy about the title deed, but it was not because of the title deed. It was the feeling that Great Elder Princess gave her that made her a little happy. After traveling through many worlds, few elders in the worldlets would dote on her like this. Maybe 1 out of 10 worlds would appear, or maybe none at all. Thank you, Great Elder Princess. Don't mention it. We're a family. I have to let you get married as soon as possible. At that time, Guo won't be so distant to me. The more they got to know each other, the more Great Elder Princess liked this little girl. If it weren't for her silly son who liked this girl, she really hoped that this girl was her daughter. Now it was okay. She could treat her daughter-in-law as her daughter. Wife. Sheng Yin seemed a little dissatisfied. Great Elder Princess had been occupying Tang Guo. Every time Great Elder Princess came, he would be driven aside. Now Great Elder Princess came out with Tang Guo and said a lot of things. He didn't understand, but he seemed to know that it would be better for him to do this. Therefore, he couldn't help but come out to make trouble. He didn't let the two of them chat outside all the time and left him aside. Great Elder Princess felt that her silly son was really possessive. Couldn't his mother say a few words to her daughter-in-law? It was impossible to hide the fact that the emperor gave the positions of several mountains to Tang Guo. It didn't take long for those who were well informed to know that the little fool beside Tang Guo was Great Elder Princess's son. When they thought about it this way, they understood everything. Those who had been thinking about how to deal with the Tang's chicken farm were so shocked that they broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, the news came in time, so they didn't do such a stupid thing. Otherwise, they would lose their heads. When Tang Guo began to expand the chicken farm, she also liked to raise other poultry, such as rabbits, ducks, and pigs. She specially used a mountain to raise pigs, and all the pigs she raised were the kind that could run very fast. The taste of the meat would definitely be superb. Anyway, she didn't plan to open a shop. Other than choosing a few good recipes to give to the emperor, she gave the rest to the restaurants, saying that it was to promote cooperation between the two sides. The owner of the restaurant didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Indeed, he had to work with her again. Now that the Tang family's poultry was praised by the emperor, it was on a whole new level. More and more people came to eat it, so how could they miss it? Although their territory had expanded, the supply of goods from the Tang family's farm still could not meet the demand. There were also others who imitated the Tang family's farm. Tang Guo didn't care. There were people imitating. It was a trend. She wouldn't expand the farms anymore. It would be a good thing if there were such farms all over the world. On the other hand, her Tangkor farm would always be the best of the best. It was also a tribute to the royal family. No other farm could replace it. Great Elder Princess even praised her after knowing it. The emperor was very satisfied with this. In fact, he had already known that there were many farms imitating the Tang family's farm in other counties far away from the capital city. Tang Guo didn't care about it, which was good for the whole country. It could improve the living standards of the whole country. The rich could spend money to eat meat, and the poor could find a place to work to make a living. Chapter 2899. After a month, Great Elder Princess didn't show up. A month and a half later, Great Elder Princess came to her again and said that she had killed all the people who hurt Sheng Yin. In the future, they would not be in any danger. This time, she came with many people and many betrothal gifts. She specially came to propose marriage. In short, the necessary procedures couldn't be omitted. At that time, Sheng Yin held Tang Guo's little hand with bright eyes, as if he was telling her to agree to marry him. Tang Guo and Sheng Yin's wedding was very grand, and it was not an exaggeration to say that there were 10 miles of red dresses. On the day of the wedding, the emperor also gave her a title of county princess and specially allowed her not to kneel to anyone. After all, in terms of status, she was his cousin and his aunt's daughter-in-law. Moreover, she chose his cousin. He thought this special permission was very good. Anyway, Tang Guo didn't often enter the palace. This special honor was just to tell many people that she was very noble. Tang Guo wouldn't be a threat to anyone in the royal family, so everyone was happy to see her. After the wedding, there was no difference. The little fool was still the little fool. The only difference was that the little fool could hold Tang Guo's waist to sleep at night and looked very happy. System, sure enough, the little fool is so happy to hold her waist. Unknowingly, it was almost the year when the plague broke out. Tang Guo found out that Gong Jinglin hadn't made much progress. He didn't have a cure for the plague at all. Even if he could prevent it, it was still difficult. Butler, send someone to do something. Send a trustworthy person. Tang Guo took out a bottle of medicine. Send him to the family Tang village. We'll see what happens then. Tang Guo's order was that if the plague still broke out, this person should take her medicine to save those people. If someone solved it, such as Tang Ying, there was no need. She guessed that Tang Ying could only take precautions. Recently, she had been paying attention to Gong Jinglin's situation. One day, she found that he left the capital in a hurry with his men, so she went to find Great Elder Princess and asked about it. Great Elder Princess looked serious and said in a low voice, "Yes, the plague was found in a place and Jinglin took the initiative to solve it." She was a little worried. This winter hasn't passed yet. I don't know what the situation is like over there. I hope it can be resolved soon. If the plague wasn't controlled, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that an entire city would die. Knowing that things were almost the same as before, Tang Guo returned to the house and continued her life. Occasionally, he would come to Great Elder Princess and cook hot pot with her. It was a hot day, so she ate hot pot to warm herself up. "Mother, what do you think about raising some lambs?" Great Elder Princess swallowed the food in her mouth and asked curiously, "Why do you suddenly want to raise lambs? Isn't the mountain over there fully stocked?" Sheng Yin also looked at Tang Guo seriously. What he said was different from what Great Elder Princess said. He said directly, "Mother, if you like, raise some lambs." Great Elder Princess almost spat out the food. She said with a smile, "Yin, is right. If Guo, likes it, then raise some lambs." "But why do you suddenly want to raise lambs?" Tang Guo looked at the hot pot in front of her. Although it was comfortable to eat and tasted good, she always felt that something was missing. What was it missing? The bad thing was that the meat was not right and the soup was not right. She didn't feel good eating it. "Mother, have you eaten mutton soup? Raise some lambs. It's warm to eat mutton soup in winter." Great Elder Princess. Chapter 2900. Tang Guo had already decided to raise lambs. Moreover, raising some lambs would not take up much space. Lambs only needed grass and water. They were very easy to raise and rarely fell sick. Everything had been arranged in family Tang village. Tang Guo was no longer worried. She was thinking about how many lambs she should raise. A few months later, Gong Jinglin returned. Not only did he return, but he also brought Tang Ying and family's family back with him. Actually, he did not want to bring the family's family with him. However, the situation this time was special and he had no choice but to bring them along. For some reason, the matter of the plague was resolved without any mishaps. However, the family's family insisted on following him. They said that Tang Ying was their treasure and they were worried about her. Yes, in the second dream, the family said the same thing. In the second dream, he also believed that the family's family really treated Tang Ying as their treasure. However, through the combination of the two dreams, he knew that those people were reborn. He would not believe their excuses. However, Tang Ying did not know that in order to take her away, he had to take this family with him. It did not matter. Weren't they just a few reborn people who wanted to take advantage of her? He was really not afraid of this. When he was free, he would find a way to deal with them. If he did not treat them well, it would cause Tang Ying to hold a grudge against him. It was better to go along with them on the surface and secretly deal with them. After all, they were not sincere to Tang Ying. He would let Tang Ying slowly understand the evil intentions of this family. Tang Guo was not surprised at all to learn that the family's family had returned to the capital. The people sent by Shi Xingshan had also returned. Because of the medicine she gave, no one died of the plague. However, the famine there was still a little serious. However, it was much less serious than in the plot. The number of people who starved to death was not high. It was still within an acceptable range. Because the family's family had followed them, Gong Jinglin arranged for them to stay in a courtyard. For the time being, he did not bring Tang Ying to his residence. Tang Ying was still young and would not be so fast. Although his residence was not that dangerous, he could not do whatever he wanted. The Tang family members looked at the ordinary house. It was not big, and the location was not particularly good. In fact, they were a little disappointed. Furthermore, Gong Jinglin did not hire anyone to serve them. He only settled them down here and did not do anything else. Why is it different from what I imagined? That young master doesn't look like he's short of money. I thought that we could at least be placed in a large residence with a dozen or so servant girls to serve us. Madame Wu said. Tang Fengshou didn't say anything. He just sat by the door and tapped his pipe. Madame Zhang said, "This place is not bad. If it wasn't for the fact that Xing-er is old and can't wait any longer, I would have really wanted to keep her here and bring her to the capital. Perhaps she would be able to meet a good family." Speaking of this, Madame Zhang's smile disappeared. I don't know what happened, but Xing-er is becoming more and more immature. Actually, it's good to marry her off. She won't suffer in the house of a minister-counselor. Look at her. Ever since she married into the minister-counselor's house, she hasn't come back even once. It's obvious that she has long been unfilial. Fortunately, she didn't stay here until now. Tang Baowen said. He was becoming more and more dissatisfied with his 3 children. If Tang Pingchun was not his only son, he really did not want to bring him over. Their family could only rely on Tang Ying, this promising girl. The next day, the family went to the city to see the world. They even heard about the story of the Tang family's farm. After hearing about it, they were all dumbfounded. Madame Li said sourly, "They're both from the Tang family. The difference between them is really big." Coincidentally, Tang Guo's carriage happened to pass by. This familiar voice made her lift the curtain by the carriage window. As expected, she saw Madame Li's malnourished face. Chapter 2901. The horse carriage slowly passed by the family Tang people. Madame Li did not notice that the curtain of the carriage window had been lifted. When the Tang Guo lowered the curtain, she raised her head and saw the horse carriage slowly driving out of the city. Madame Li clicked her tongue and said, "Whose horse carriage is this? It looks so stylish. The color of the curtain is nice and it looks like it's made of silk, right? There are even beautiful embroidery on it. The people in the capital are really different. They can even make horse carriages with so many tricks. The wood used to make the horse carriage is not ordinary wood. The carvings on it must have been made by a master carpenter," Tang Baolin added. Tang Baolin added. He usually worked as a carpenter in the village, so he was quite familiar with wood. As for Madame Li, although she could not afford to wear silk, she had seen silk-embroidered handkerchiefs before. There were also people in the village who raised silkworms. Even the cloth they made was not as good as the ones in the capital. "You don't know who that horse carriage belongs to?" There was a person selling trinkets next to them. Madame Li's voice was not soft, so he heard it clearly. Especially when he saw the family Tang people, they seemed to be from outside the capital. He reminded them, "The person in that horse carriage is not simple. The next time you see him, make way for him." "Who exactly is he?" Tang Baolin asked in a low voice. He sounds like he's not simple. The trinket seller shook his head with a smile and lowered his voice. Weren't you talking about Tang Kor just now? That's Tang Kor's horse carriage. Madame Li was surprised. Then, she realized, no wonder, no wonder. It's so stylish. Before Madame Li could finish, the man interrupted her and continued, it's not just that. You are all from outside the capital, right? That's right. Brother, tell us, what do you mean by outside the capital? Tang Baolin was also very curious. Could it be that Tang Kor had another identity? When they heard about how Tang Kor made a fortune, they were envious. In their previous life, they had lived in the small family Tang village until their deaths and had never seen the big scene outside the capital. He heard that the Tang Kor was also an outsider. In just a few short years, they had already grown to this extent. The poultry and livestock that they raised were not something that ordinary people could eat. At that time, they were thinking, weren't they all the same? How could Tang Kor's products be so much more expensive? She wondered if the people in Beijing had too much money and nowhere to spend it. Looks like you guys are really new here. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask these questions that everyone already knows. After that person's explanation, the Tang family finally understood how amazing the Tang group was. She knew that the boss of the Tang family farm was a woman in her teens. She had established the Tang family all by herself. Not only that, she had also been given the title of county princess by the emperor. Besides, she was also the princess consort of Commandery Prince Romping, the only son of great elder princess. After the family Tang group members heard this, they were all dumbfounded. Was this really something a teenage girl could do? The family was especially jealous. They were reincarnated people. Why didn't they think of setting up a farm? Otherwise, all this glory might have been theirs. But soon, they stopped being upset. Didn't they have Tang Ying in their family? Chapter 2902. Their Ying Ying was a truly blessed girl. It was indeed good to rely on Ying Ying. As a matter of fact, they had already moved to the capital. Although there were many places that did not meet their expectations, at least they did not stay in a small place like family Tang village. That noble young master's identity was definitely not simple. Perhaps he was much nobler than that Duke Romping. They did not care. Tang Ying did not go out with the family Tang village. In her dream, she was already very familiar with the capital. There were all kinds of people here. She knew that Gong Jinglin still had many enemies. If others knew about their relationship, not only would it bring trouble to Gong Jinglin, but it would also bring danger to her family Tang village. Therefore, she obediently stayed in the house and avoided the trouble in the second dream. Thinking of the trouble that the family Tang village might cause in the future, Tang Ying sighed in her heart. It seemed that she had to find time to warn them. They had been reborn. They should have been reborn from the first life and did not know about the second life. If they went out and caused trouble, it would probably cause trouble for him again. What Tang Ying did not know was that Gong Jinglin had also had those two dreams. He knew about the family Tang village's character. When they came to the capital, he sent people to keep an eye on them. If they caused trouble and suffered more, he wouldn't be able to save them in time. When Tang Ying came to look for him, he was helping them with a troubled expression. In any case, they were shameless and only knew how to bully Tang Ying. He did not care much about their feelings. Although it was a little unkind, he knew Tang Ying's character very well. Only when the family Tang village made mistakes again and hurt the people she cared about would she slowly understand. In the future, they would get married and have children. He definitely could not hurt their children, so he could only make a small sacrifice on the surface. However, Tang Ying did not expect that the family Tang village would cause trouble on the first day they went out. Any random person in the capital might not be a simple person. The person who caused trouble was Madame Li. Just because the family Tang village was shopping, they went to a place that sold jewelry. Madame Wu actually had some money, so she could buy some small jewelry. But Madame Wu couldn't bear to part with the jewelry. Madame Li looked at it again and again. In the end, she had no choice but to give up. She could only look enviously at the madams and young misses. They all took out several pieces without even blinking their eyes. The trouble she caused was that she saw an ordinary-looking madam buy a very beautiful piece of jewelry and praise that piece of jewelry. It just so happened that she had also taken a fancy to that piece of jewelry, but she definitely couldn't afford it. Therefore, she was jealous and unknowingly muttered, "It's so ugly. It won't look good on anything. It's so expensive. Isn't this a waste of money?" Although his voice was soft, it was still heard by others. Although that unprepossessing madam was not good-looking, her status was not low. She did not directly do anything to Mrs. Li. It was just that when the Tang family members left the store, they were stopped by the store's staff. They said that she had stolen something and wanted to report it to the authorities. The person who saw her stealing with her own eyes was the madam whom she had said was ugly. In the end, they found a bracelet on her body. It just so happened that Madame Li wanted to buy it. With their current situation, they could definitely afford it. Madame Li immediately jumped up and said, "I didn't steal anything. I don't know how this bracelet ended up in my arms. How could I steal something from your store?" Chapter 2903. Earlier, I saw you staring at this bracelet for a long time. The ugly madam said meaningfully, "But you don't seem to be able to afford it. Since you can't afford it, it's normal for you to have evil thoughts. You said you didn't steal it, but why is the bracelet on your body? Just now, my maid said that you've been wandering around there. You're probably stealing something, right? The witnesses and evidence are all here. I think it's best to send you to the authorities." The family Tang people could not explain themselves clearly. They actually did not know if Madame Li had stolen anything. After all, Madame Li usually liked to take advantage of others. Even Madame Wu was a little hesitant. Madame Li almost went crazy when she saw everyone's doubtful look. Just like that, Madame Li was sent to the authorities by the shop owner, who directly sued her. When Tang Ying found out, she was in a bad mood. It was only the first day. Many things were clearly different, but the family Tang people's ability to cause trouble had not changed at all. She thought of how Madame Li had always been good to her in the past few years. No matter what, she was still the mother of this body and had never mistreated her. She had to go over to take a look and help think of a way. Gong Jinglin immediately found out that Madame Li had been arrested by the authorities. Then, he immediately entered the palace and planned to wait for Madame Li to be punished before leaving. Although it was a little unkind, he was especially unhappy that they had schemed against Tang Ying. Didn't the family Tang people like the capital? He would let them know what the capital was. For Tang Ying's sake, he would let them live. As for the rest, they could dream on. When she found out that the family Tang people had entered the capital, Tang Guo also asked Shi Xingshan to send people to keep an eye on them. If there was any movement, he would come back and tell her. When she heard that Madame Li had suffered a lawsuit on the first day, she almost choked. Then, she laughed very happily. She knew that this family was very good at courting death. Their hearts were higher than the sky, but their lives were thinner than paper. They were clearly lazy, but they dreamed of making a fortune and hoped that the pie would fall into their bowl. "My wife is beautiful." Sheng Yin sat beside Tang Guo and ate a boiled egg. This was their habit. Every time they came to the farm, they would cook a few fresh eggs to eat. After eating, the two of them would hold hands and watch the hens line up to lay eggs. Shi Xingshan could not understand Tang Guo's strange hobby. Of all the things the boss could watch, he just had to watch hens lay eggs. "System, what do you know? If it wasn't for the fact that the host wanted to see hens lining up to lay eggs for her, would there be such a glorious farm today? Everyone in Beijing should thank him. His host wanted to eat eggs. If she didn't want to eat it, there wouldn't be a farm. Also, If she hadn't wanted to drink mutton soup in winter, she wouldn't have raised lambs. If it weren't for the fact that her little fool especially liked to eat spicy rabbit meat and beef jerky, would she have raised yellow cattle and those cute little bunnies? The reason why the farm was so big was because she and her little fool wanted to eat it, so they raised it while they were at it. They even raised it for the royal family. Wasn't that infuriating? Boss, that's what happened. Shi Xingshan couldn't help but sigh. So many years had passed. The Tang family should have treated their boss better back then. Was there a need for them to only come to Beijing now? Unfortunately, they missed it. Their boss's personality was that once they missed it, there was no turning back. Is there no way for her to clear her name in this lawsuit? Chapter 2904. No one can testify for her. After all, the stolen goods were found from her clothes. Shi Xingshan said, unless someone helped her. Fortunately, she didn't take the goods away. I guess she will be beaten 20 times and locked up for a while. That's not light. It's enough for her to suffer. Seeing that Tang Guo was not moved, Shi Xingshan understood that his boss didn't care about their life and death. Well, it was they who indifferently wanted to sell their boss. 150 taels of silver had already cut off all the friendship and blood relations between them. Little fool, are you full? If you are, let's go to see the hens lay eggs. Tang Guo rubbed Sheng Yin's head and pinched his face. Sheng Yin nodded obediently, which made Shi Xingshan speechless. Although the commandery prince was a fool, he was really a little shameless. No wonder. No wonder he could deceive such a good woman as his boss at such a young age. He had secretly heard that great elder princess often wondered if his boss was blind to fall in love with the commandery prince. After so many years of getting along with each other, he actually understood that his boss was not blind. It was because the commandery prince only had eyes for his boss. His happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy were all with her. At that time, his boss was busy pushing the things in their farm and went out before dawn. It was very cold in winter. The commandery prince was not a normal person, but he knew that he had to get up early to see her off. In the evening, he would wait for her at the door. He remembered that summer night, in order to wait for his boss to come back, he stood alone outside the yard. His hand was bitten countless times by mosquitoes, but he didn't say that he wanted to go in. Those servants treated him badly, but he didn't know how to complain. But as long as his boss was involved, he seemed to know what to do. Tang Guo took Sheng Yin to walk around the mountains. It seemed that they went to all the places in their farm. It seemed that the hens were lining up to lay eggs, the ducks were swimming in the lake, and the lambs were running in the mountains and bleating at them. He also saw those yellow bulls, each of them banging their horns against the trees. There were also some yellow bulls lying on the ground, leisurely scratching their backs with iron claws. They were so comfortable that they were about to fall asleep. Shi Xingshan wanted to say that it was not that tiring to be a cow. At least, the cattle in the Dong family's farm only needed to eat some grass every day, run around, and have someone to scrub their backs when they were bathing. Their days were very comfortable. The life of a bull was better than that of many people. The farmers at the foot of the mountain were now working in Tang Guo's farm. As for the crops in the fields, they were planted every year during the season and were occasionally taken care of. In every household, both men and women could work in the fields. Ever since they started working in the farms, their lives had been getting better and better. Especially during festivals, Tang Guo would order them to share the meat. Especially during the New Year, the rewards were even more plentiful. It could be said that the people at the foot of the mountain were very grateful to Tang Guo. When the sun was about to set, Tang Guo took Sheng Yin back to the city. As soon as they returned to the house, Shi Xingshan came again with the news from the family. As he expected, Madame Li was beaten 20 times and then locked in prison. It was said that she would be locked up for 3 months. It could have been reduced, but Madame Wu was unwilling to pay. This disaster was caused by Madame Li. If they wanted to reduce the prison time, they would have to pay at least 100 taels of silver. They didn't agree to such a high price. Even if Tang Ying had saved some money, it was not easy to save 100 taels of silver in that small place. Like wearing clothes fast, female supporting character, calm down please bookmark, female supporting character, calm down please bookmark. Chapter 2905. She knew that the family Tang people had been reborn and understood their temperament, so she did not dare to show off her abilities too much. The happiest thing that had happened to her in the past few years was that the plague had been stopped. The family Tang village was still there, and those people were still there. Grandmother, why don't we pay the money first and help reduce mother's crime? Based on Madame Li's situation, paying 100 taels could reduce her sentence by 2 months. If she had some connections and paid more money, she could be released after 2 days of symbolic imprisonment. After all, Madame Li's situation was not serious. Madame Wu shook her head. Your mother caused trouble. Isn't it just 3 months of imprisonment? 3 months will pass in the blink of an eye. I still have to pay her money to eat in prison. If I have to pay all the money, how will our family survive? Tang Ying was silent. She did not want to look for Gong Jinglin for this matter. She remembered the second dream. Gong Jinglin often had to deal with the mess in the family Tang for her. It was really difficult for him. Ying, remember to send some medicine to your mother and ask her to endure it. She'll be out in 3 months, Tang Baolin said. What else could they do now that things had come to this? Madame Li liked to take advantage of others. Although she kept saying that she did not steal it, if she did not steal it, would the things have ended up in her hands? Therefore, the family Tang people were unwilling to pay because they thought that Madame Li was greedy and caused the trouble. Ying, where's the young master who brought us to the capital? Can you ask that young master for help? He's not a simple person. If you ask him for help, your mother might be released soon. The person who spoke was Madame Zhang. When she said this, many people looked at Tang Ying. Tang Ying felt uncomfortable from being stared at. She had already decided not to trouble Gong Jinglin with this matter. He was a prince and was in the middle of a whirlpool. If he was criticized for solving the family Tang problem, wouldn't he be implicated? Won't this be too troublesome for him? After all, I'm not very familiar with him. Madame Zhang covered her mouth and laughed. Ying, don't lie to us. What do you mean you're not familiar with him? If you're not familiar with him, why would he help us move to the capital and help you find a pharmacy? Yes, Tang Ying wanted to open a pharmacy in the capital. Previously, she found an excuse to learn medicine from someone. These people's medical skills were getting better and better. Although she wasn't the one who solved the plague, she had contributed a lot to the prevention of the plague and was remembered by many people. She would not stay in family Tang village forever. Even if she came to the capital, she would have her own business. Therefore, it was best to open a medicine store. There was no need to rely on Gong Jinglin for everything. If she could solve the problems of the Tang family, she would solve them. That young master must have taken a fancy to our Ying. He should be busy recently. Ying, why don't you go look for him? Tang Fengshou said. They had been too anxious to react. Now that they had reacted, if that young master could solve the problem, how could they not use him? They doted on Tang Ying because they knew that this girl was filial and did not forget her roots. What did the family Tang people need? Would she definitely help? Tang Ying was in a difficult position. She could not take it anymore. Her family pulled her along and finally, she went to look for Gong Jinglin. Oh, it's Miss Tang. Young master has something important to do. The servant looked at Tang Ying and was very respectful. Miss Tang, please go in and sit and wait. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 2906. The people in Gong Jinglin's house were instructed to take good care of Tang Ying. After inviting her in, they waited for her to eat and drink. Gong Jinglin knew that she did not eat much and could not bear it. However, the family was like that, so he could only endure it. He knew the cause and effect of Madame Li's matter. He planned to let the madam whom Madame Li had offended torment her for 2 days before saving Madame Li. Therefore, Tang Ying went for 3 days in a row. Gong Jinglin was in the palace and did not go to that house. Tang Ying knew Gong Jinglin's identity. He must have something important to do and could not leave, so she did not complain. However, the family asked her every day, and she answered truthfully. Seeing their disappointed faces, she did not say much. Although the family did not complain in front of her, she would occasionally overhear some words. They were clearly good to her for a reason, but this serious kindness made her really helpless. Her intuition told her that it was best not to trouble Gong Jinglin with such matters, lest the family developed a habit. Tang Ying regretted what had happened in the past 2 days. Perhaps she really should not have come to the capital. However, when she saw Gong Jinglin, she could not forget. On the 4th day, Gong Jinglin appeared. Tang Ying rushed to the residence to see Gong Jinglin. She felt very guilty when she saw the exhausted Gong Jinglin. In the end, Gong Jinglin rescued Madame Li. However, Madame Li suffered a lot inside. After all, she had offended someone she should not have offended. "I've caused you trouble." Tang Ying felt a little guilty. Gong Jinglin looked at Tang Ying's thinner appearance and felt a little uncomfortable. Tang Ying could not be ruthless, so he could only be ruthless. Otherwise, she would still have to deal with a lot of trouble for this family in the future. He wanted her to lose all hope in this family and never interfere in their affairs again. Look, she had only been in the capital for less than 10 days, and she had already been tormented to such a state. "No, your business is my business. Helping you is what I want to do." For some reason, Gong Jinglin suddenly thought of his uncle. His uncle was clearly a fool, but with just a few words, he was able to coax his aunt into a smile. Unknowingly, he blurted out these words. Then, he saw that Tang Ying was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on her face. She even looked a little shy. His heart suddenly started to race. Although his uncle was a little silly, he was better at coaxing people. "Are you free tomorrow? Since you've been in the capital for so many days, let me show you around. There are many beautiful places in the capital." Gong Jinglin still remembered Tang Guo's farm. "I know a good place. The scenery there is very unique and the people are very nice. Even the small animals there are different from those outside." Tang Ying's eyes lit up. "Where is it?" "You'll know when you get there. Ordinary people aren't qualified to eat there. I guarantee that once you go there, you will remember it and never forget it." Gong Jinglin was also stunned when he saw the livestock living such a good life for the first time. Especially the scene of those people scrubbing the back of the old yellow cow, he still remembered it vividly. He wanted to bring Tang Ying to that place. It should make her happier. Tang Ying's curiosity was piqued and she agreed. Gong Jinglin's words just now made her face burn a little. This person was a little different from the one in her dream. He was especially good at talking, making her a little embarrassed. She thought of the blockhead in her dream. Other than protecting her in his arms, he did not know how to say such sweet words. Gong Jinglin kept looking at Tang Ying and blurted out, "Ying Ying, you're very beautiful." Tang Ying's face turned even redder and she could not help but push him. That night, Tang Guo received a message from Gong Jinglin saying that he would bring people to her farm to play the next day. He wanted to ask her to prepare some food for him. Fast crossover, supporting female lead, calm down. Fast crossover, supporting female lead, calm down. Reading address, 103791. Fast crossover, supporting female lead, calm down. Download address, fast crossover, supporting female lead, calm down, 103791. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the collection record below. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Like fast crossover, supporting female lead, calm down. Please recommend this book to your friends, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2907. Is this the legendary Tang family's farm? Tang Ying was actually very surprised that a Tang family's farm had appeared in the capital. Because in her 2 dreams, the Tang family's farm had not appeared. She had not deliberately inquired about the Tang family's farm, but living in the capital, as long as she went out, she would definitely hear many people talking about the legend of the Tang family's farm. It was said that the Tang family's farm had originated a few years ago. In other words, Tang Ying was already surprised that it had developed to its current scale, had been personally inscribed by the emperor, and that its boss was the Junwang consort. She even suspected that this Junwang consort, who had caused such a big commotion, might be a super powerful transmigrator. Although there were other farms in this era, the appearance of the Tang family's farm was really too bizarre. Tang Ying suspected that she had transmigrated into a movie and that the other party was the female lead in the movie and was doing well. Moreover, it was said that the Junwang consort was not very smart. Wasn't this the transmigrated female lead who had transmigrated and happened to marry a foolish prince and still lived a good life every day? Perhaps that foolish Junwang consort was just pretending. He pretended to be a little fool during the day and transformed into a big bad wolf at night. Thinking of this, Tang Ying quickly dispelled the messy thoughts in her mind. What the hell was she thinking? If she was with Gong Jinglin, he would be her elder. Yesterday, I already sent someone to greet Aunt. She will get someone to prepare a chicken banquet to entertain us today. Gong Jinglin did not expect that the woman he had met back then would actually become his aunt. This matter of fate was really hard to explain. For example, wasn't it like this between him and Tang Ying? Hearing that she was being entertained like this, Tang Ying was a little flattered. She knew that it was a luxury for the people in the capital to eat a bite of the Tang family's chicken. Today, she was actually able to eat the chicken banquet personally entertained by the Tang family's boss. She was still looking forward to it. Aunt's chicken soup is especially delicious. Gong Jinglin remembered that he had come over to freeload a few times before. Aunt knows how to make many delicious chicken soups. There's nothing she can't make. She also knows how to make many chicken dishes. Although many restaurants also have these dishes, I've tasted them all. Aunt's cooking is delicious. Tang Ying was still a little stunned when Gong Jinglin said so much at once. This block of wood actually knew how to praise people. Tang Ying could not help but blush when she recalled how he had said that she was pretty. Speaking of which, although she was about to become a master's student in modern times, she was still single from her mother's womb. She had never thought of such a thing. Who would have thought that after having 2 dreams, he would experience 2 lifetimes with the same person? In both lifetimes, they had been very loving and had never doubted each other. Even if they had encountered many dangers, they had walked hand in hand to the end. In her dream, the only thing she regretted most was that Gong Jinglin was too tired. In the beginning, he had to deal with his enemies and protect her. He had to shoulder everything by himself. Later on, he was busy worrying about the affairs of the world. His body slowly collapsed, and he passed away many years earlier than her. However, Gong Jinglin's life had been glorious. At least before he died, the world he ruled would not have so many people starving to death. Like to wear fast, supporting female lead, calm down, please collect, wear fast, supporting female lead, calm down, fight bar updates the fastest. Chapter 2908. He reduced taxes, changed various systems, and a series of policies that were beneficial to the people, and punished corrupt officials who took advantage of the people. Although there were no fish in clear water, with Gong Jinglin's deterrence, at least the people could survive when the disaster relief food was sent down. In short, he had already done well enough to reach the peak of this era. He was just too tired. This made Tang Ying think of what would happen in the future and her heart ached a little. She still had a big family behind her to drag him down, causing him to often have to deal with many old foxes in order to help the family Tang people solve their problems. In the second dream, it was because she did not know that the family Tang people had been reborn. She only thought that they doted on her purely because they liked her. Therefore, every time they asked for help, she would do her best to help. Speaking of which, in the second dream, she owed Gong Jinglin. Now, she already knew that the family Tang people's love for her was utilitarian, so she drew a line in her heart. Once the family Tang people crossed her line and wanted to harm Gong Jinglin, she might not be able to make things difficult for him. Yingying, what are you thinking about? We're here. The carriage had already stopped. Gong Jinglin's words brought Tang Ying back to her senses. She saw Gong Jinglin lift the curtain of the carriage, jump down, and then turn around to help her. She gently put her hand over. With a slight tug from him, she landed steadily on the ground. Soon, he let go of her hand, making her feel a little lost. How could she keep her heart when Gong Jinglin was like this? Seeing Gong Jinglin looking at her with a smile, she could not help but lower her head. Let's go. Aunt must be anxious from waiting. Okay. Tang Ying walked behind, but she was thinking in her heart. If Gong Jinglin still sat in that position in the future, what could she do to help him? In the dream, she seemed to be afraid that her identity as a transmigrator would be exposed. Other than revealing her medical skills, she hid everything about her identity as a transmigrator very well. She did not want to be like this anymore. She believed in those two dreams and believed that this person called Gong Jinglin in front of her treated her sincerely. He was also the only person in this era who treated her so well. Isn't it very different here? Gong Jinglin actually felt that Tang Ying was distracted. He thought that Tang Ying was thinking about the Li family. He could go along with her and help her with many things, but he could not do that to the Tang family. This family clearly wanted to suck her blood. She couldn't bear it, but he couldn't. In this life, he didn't want things to be like in his dream. He didn't want to die at the age of 60, leaving her to live alone in the harem. He didn't know how long she had lived in the dream. According to her body's condition at that time, it should have been very long, right? The two of them walked into the Tang family's farm with their own thoughts. Because Tang Guo brought Sheng Yin here, Great Elder Princess thought that the previous place was not good, so she asked people to build a villa here. Occasionally, she would come over to sit, drink some soup and eat some meat. Then, she would walk around the mountain and look at the flourishing Tang family's farm. After these days, Great Elder Princess's health had improved a lot. Occasionally, the emperor would sneak out and walk around here, saying that this place was good. Of course, Gong Jinglin was the one who accompanied the emperor every time. He just wanted to come over and freeload. When it came to chicken soup and chicken, his aunt's cooking was the best. His uncle was so good that he could coax a good woman like his aunt. Calm down, please. Collect, wear fast, female supporting character, calm down. Chapter 2909. Gong Jinglin was not envious. He had also found the person he liked and was very satisfied. Tang Guo had already heard the commotion. The chicken banquet was already prepared and was still warm. At present, she and Sheng Yin were sitting in the courtyard of the villa, basking in the sun. When the sound of footsteps gradually sounded, Sheng Yin reacted faster than her. His eyes vigilantly stared outside, but he didn't forget to hold Tang Guo tightly. This was because every time someone came over, his wife would push his hand away and talk to those people. Especially his mother. She would even take his wife away. He could not snatch her back even if he wanted to. She would even make trouble for him. Sheng Yin's reaction made Tang Guo extremely happy. She pinched his face. Mother won't come over today. She won't come over for a while. The wariness in Sheng Yin's eyes lessened, but he still stared at the door. When he saw Gong Jinglin, he only glanced at him before lowering his head and continuing to hold Tang Guo's hand. He did not even look at Gong Jinglin. The person who came was Gong Jinglin. To Sheng Yin, he was not a threat at all, so he did not care. Gong Jinglin said, that indifferent gaze did hurt his heart a little. At the very least, he had helped his uncle and aunt with their wedding. How could his uncle not remember him? Uncle, aunt. Gong Jinglin greeted and stepped aside. He brought Tang Ying in and spoke to Tang Gua. Unknowingly, his face turned slightly red. Auntie, this is Ying Ying. From his appearance, who wouldn't know that she was someone he cared about? Tang Gua stood up with Sheng Yin and walked towards the two of them. When Tang Ying subconsciously looked at Tang Gua and wanted to address her as Princess Consort of Romping, she was stunned and could not call her that anymore. Gong Jinglin instantly noticed her standing there in a daze. He glanced at Tang Gua and then turned back to look at Tang Ying. He was a little confused. Ying Ying, have you seen aunt? Tang Ying did not seem to hear Gong Jinglin's words. She was still in a daze. Tang Gua had already walked up to her and said with a smile, Ying Ying, long time no see. The familiar voice that she had not heard for a long time finally brought Tang Ying back to her senses. When she saw Tang Gua and Sheng Yin beside Tang Gua, her eyes turned red. Big sister. Gong Jinglin was confused. Tang Ying looked at Sheng Yin. How could she not remember him? This was the little fool who wanted to buy her elder sister back then. So the little fool was Commandery Prince Romping? Her elder sister was the boss of the Tang family's farm? That woman who had created a miracle in the capital in just a few years? Tang Ying didn't know what to say. After calling out, she didn't know what to say. Big sister seemed to be living a good life. At least she didn't have to worry about this. Moreover, he was living a much better life than she had imagined. Look at that little fool royal prince. He had always stood by eldest sister's side in a protective state. He was a little silly, but he was really good at heart. At least, even if he wasn't smart, he knew how to protect big sister. Compared to some people who were normal in the head but only knew how to hurt big sister, it was much better. Yes, she was still resentful. Big sister, is it really you? Tang Ying couldn't help but take a step forward. Her eyes were red. They hadn't known each other for long. She didn't feel much affection for her elder sister. She was just a little touched. She was touched that the other party was actually fine and was still living a good life. She was simply a winner in life. Another thing was that she still blamed herself. She felt that if it weren't for her, big sister might not have met with such a tragic fate. However, the other party didn't seem to care about this. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 29:10. The food is ready. Tang Gua smiled and nodded at Tang Ying. Come in and eat while we talk. After saying that, she handed Tang Ying a handkerchief. After Tang Ying took it, she wiped it carelessly and hurriedly nodded. Gong Jinglin seemed to be living in a dream. He knew that there might be something wrong with Tang Gua. After all, in those two dreams, his uncle was not found, and there was no person called Tang Gua, not to mention the so-called farm. In addition, it was mentioned in the dream that Great Elder Princess suddenly passed away a few years later. It was the same in both dreams. He remembered that not long after Great Elder Princess passed away, his father even investigated a group of corrupt officials. After connecting the dots, Gong Jinglin understood that his grandaunt's death might have something to do with his uncle's whereabouts. His father investigated the corrupt officials because he needed an excuse to kill those who were involved in his grandaunt's death. Therefore, based on everything that happened before, he had long deduced that there was something wrong with his aunt. However, this problem was not a problem for him. Because of his aunt's appearance, his uncle was found. His grandaunt was alive and well, and a Tang family farm even appeared, which attracted the attention of everyone in the world. The farm needed manpower, so it indirectly supported many people. His aunt was also one of them. In the end, it was a good thing. However, he really did not expect that his aunt was Tang Ying's elder sister. Gong Jinglin was really a little confused. In the future, when he and Ying got married, how should they address each other? He felt that he could address her as he did during formal occasions. When he came to see his aunt alone, he could address her as she did. It was not bad. Perhaps it was because they had experienced 2 dreams that they felt like an old couple. He did not think that this was a problem. Tang Gua did not know that Gong Jinglin had imagined so many things just because of the way she addressed him. Elder sister, I'm very happy that you're fine. Sheng Yin stared at Tang Ying, then looked at Tang Gua with pleading eyes. Tang Gua pulled Sheng Yin and said to Tang Ying, this is your brother-in-law. Hello, brother-in-law. Tang Ying greeted him quickly. Now, the more she looked at Sheng Yin, the more she liked him. He was clearly not smart, but in his previous position, he was really protecting her elder sister. Sheng Yin might have understood a little, so he no longer looked at Tang Ying with vigilance. While they were chatting and eating, he took the opportunity to rummage through his pocket. There were all kinds of expensive trinkets in it. He looked at this and then at that. In the end, he grabbed Tang Gua's hand and handed the pocket to her. My wife, pick them for me. Tang Ying's eyes were filled with surprise. Although her brother-in-law's brain wasn't that bright, he wasn't that stupid. Tang Gua's eyes were full of smiles. She touched his head and said, okay, these things are very expensive. Are you willing? Pick. Sheng Yin said nonchalantly and pushed the bag in front of her. Pick. Although Gong Jinglin was used to it, he still thought that he was better than his uncle. It was clearly just the word pick, yet he could say it in such an imposing manner. If uncle was smart, what would he be like? In the end, Tang Gua chose a safety buckle and handed it to Tang Ying. Tang Ying wanted to decline, but Tang Gua said, your brother-in-law gave you a greeting gift. Tang Ying took it and saw Sheng Yin sitting upright as if he was very proud. Actually, she did not think that Sheng Yin was so stupid that he could not be saved. He would even give her a greeting gift, which meant that he was not hopeless. Like to wear fast, female supporting lead, calm down please collect, wear fast, female supporting lead, calm down. Chapter 29:11. She silently noted this down and even thanked her brother-in-law. Sheng Yin gave her a smile. Gong Jinglin braced himself and said, Auntie, what's going on? Ying called his aunt big sister, and he called her auntie. No matter how he thought about it, he was still 1 generation lower. So, should he bring up the matter of marrying Ying as soon as possible? If she married him, they would be of the same generation. He would call her big sister and auntie together. Tang Ying could not say anything, so she could only go and see Tang Gua. Tang Gua doesn't have anything to worry about, and only she knows that both of them had the same dream. Therefore, she told him the truth, saying that the family Tang suddenly gave up on her and sold her. Although there were still many suspicious points, Gong Jinglin did not care about these. Of course, he knew why the family Tang suddenly changed their attitude. He remembered something else. In the first dream, the Tang family had died, but he didn't mention it. However, he heard that she once had an older sister who married a minister-counselor. Later, there was a plague in that county and she also died in that plague. In the second dream, the family Tang had followed her to the capital, but the family Tang uncle had a daughter who seemed to have married a local minister-counselor. Later, Tang Ying's cousin asked for help, and Tang Ying even came forward to ask about that matter. The first dream was about her sister, and the second dream was about her cousin. After thinking about it for a while, he knew why. Tang Ying ate the chicken banquet very happily. Tang Ying was happy to know that the Tang family farm belonged to Tang Gua and that they were doing so well. She did not mention the family Tang to avoid making everyone unhappy. Gong Jinglin had many doubts, but he did not ask. After experiencing that strange dream, Tang Gua might have experienced some miracles. After eating, they went to the mountain for a walk. Tang Ying could tell that Tang Guo liked this kind of life very much, and she was sincerely happy. When she left, she was still a little reluctant. "If you like it here, come often," Tang Guo said. "Just now, you saw that the hens here are lining up to lay eggs for me, right?" Tang Ying could not help but laugh and nodded repeatedly. "I saw it. Big sister's chickens are delicious and beautiful. Remember when you gave me an egg?" Tang Guo smiled and said, "At that time, I was thinking that one day, I would raise a group of hens and line up to lay eggs for me." Tang Ying was dumbfounded. "It can't be, right? Could it be that big sister's original intention of opening the farm was this?" Gong Jinglin was also stunned. "Was there such a thing? At that time, I thought the eggs were too delicious. Later on, I raised chickens. The little fool likes to eat rabbits, so I raised some rabbits. The little fool seemed to like eating beef jerky, so it would be good to raise some cows. We have cows and rabbits, ducks, and pigs. Whatever you want to eat, we have it at home. I heard about it from my great-aunt. One day, Aunt said that she wanted to drink mutton soup." Gong Jinglin was speechless. The next day, she sent someone to buy lambs. He thought that only little lambs came from that. He didn't expect that she was the one who wanted to eat it from the start. His uncle wanted to eat it. The few of them looked at each other, and then they all laughed. Before leaving, Tang Ying whispered to Tang Guo, "Big sister, I think brother-in-law's illness is not as serious as we thought. We can let the doctor take a look. You see, brother-in-law actually knows a lot. Maybe he just matured a little later." "Ying, do you have any thoughts?" Of course, Tang Guo knew that Sheng Yin was not particularly stupid. Just as Tang Ying said, he matured a little later. If he did not receive treatment, he might stay like this forever. Crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Reading address, 103791. Crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Download address, crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Reading address, 103791. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the collection record below. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Like crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Please recommend this book to your friends, blogs, and WeChat. Thank you for your support. Chapter 29:12. Mother has already looked for many doctors to take a look at the little fool. What Tang Guo meant was that even if Sheng Yin's condition did not look serious, the doctors here still could not solve his problem. She did not have much thoughts about this. Whether it was the little fool who had become stupid or the little fool who had become smart, the little fool who only had eyes for her was a good little fool. Regardless of whether he had become smart or not, she felt that he was quite smart. Tang Ying thought differently. Her elder sister was such a good person, and her brother-in-law was also so good. Why couldn't they think of a way to make her brother-in-law really get better? She had been a traditional Chinese medicine doctor for generations, and there were also cases of this kind of illness being cured. That was why she brought this up. "Elder sister, I've already learned medicine from someone, and now I can be considered to have some achievements." Tang Ying thought for a moment and said, "I once saw brother-in-law's illness in a medical book. I plan to go back and look for you when I have news." Tang Guo knew that Tang Ying would think this way, so she did not refuse. She was the female lead, so she definitely had a halo. Even if Tang Ying immediately said that she could cure her little fool, she would not be surprised. Who knew what magical methods the heavens had given her? Tang Ying left with Gong Jinglin anxiously. Her mind was filled with thoughts of how to cure Sheng Yin. Tang Guo watched them leave. She turned around and saw Sheng Yin looking at her seriously. "Little fool, do you want to become smart?" "Become smart? What do you mean by becoming smart?" Tang Guo thought for a moment and felt that this question was a little difficult. Even a fool would not think that he was stupid. He would probably think that he was quite smart. "Let's go play." It was better to throw the matter of becoming smart aside. System, what a little fool. If you become smart, many things will be different. For example, when you sleep with your wife, it will be different. Hee hee. The family Tang people stopped for a few days. Tang Ying's medicine shop had been opened with Gong Jinglin's help. Because the family Tang people had been watching her, she could not leave and come to Tang Guo's place. She spent most of her time in the drugstore. If she wasn't treating patients, she was thinking about how to treat mental illnesses. In fact, she had her own selfish motives. She did not want the family to know about Tang Guo's situation so that they would not make a fuss. But since they were all in the capital, they would eventually bump into each other. One day, the two brothers, Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing, saw Tang Guo get on the magnificent carriage with their own eyes. She was even holding the hand of the silly young master from before. Most importantly, they recognized the horse carriage. It was the horse carriage that the princess consort, who was also the boss of the Tang family, had been in. Since they could not chase after him, they could only turn around and return to the family Tang club. They told the family about this matter. Did you really see it clearly? Madame Wu jumped up and said, are the people who got into the carriage really that girl, Tang Guo, and that foolish young master who bought her? Mrs. Li's eyes widened. The family Tang family members who had been reborn could not believe that this was true. Mrs. Zhang hesitated. Perhaps they know the princess consort and the princess consort. But when the curtain of the carriage was lifted, I saw with my own eyes that there was no one inside, Tang Pingshan said. Tang Pingqing added, I also heard the people around me call them the princess consort and the princess consort. The family Tang family members fell silent. They looked at each other and stared. For a moment, they did not know how to react. Mother, if this is true, then that girl is really lucky. Mrs. Li's expression did not look good. A random fool turned out to be the princess consort. How can she be so lucky? Tang Fengshou frowned and said, go and find out more. Don't make a mistake. The people in the capital are all nobles. If you make a mistake, we can't afford to offend them. The incident with Mrs. Li had taught them a lesson. Transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Full text address, 103791. Transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Download address, transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Full text address, 103,791 inches. Order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the collection record below. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Like transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Please recommend this book to your friends, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. 13. Chapter 29:13. Tang Ying had been busy in the medicine shop all day, so she didn't know that the family Tang, who had nothing to do all day, had found out about Tang Guo's situation. After discussion, the family Tang decided to wait at the gate of the Commandery Prince's mansion. If Tang Guo was really the Commandery Prince's wife and the silly young master was Commandery Prince Romping, they would be able to meet them. Commandery Prince Romping's mansion was only one street away from Great Elder Princess's mansion. Great Elder Princess had specially ordered it to be built on the next street for the convenience of meeting. There happened to be an empty house in that place, so the emperor gave it to Sheng Yin. The family Tang waited for a long time. When the sun went down, they were a little impatient. Pingshan, Pingqing, you all saw it clearly. Are you sure? Madame Wu leaned against the wall to rest. After standing here for a long time, her legs were a little sore. The sun went down and it was almost dark. Why hadn't the carriage of the so-called Commandery Prince Romping come back yet? Mother, let's wait a little longer. Even if we are wrong, Commandery Prince Romping and the Commandery Prince's wife will come back, right? I don't believe that they won't come back at night. Madame Li believed the words of Tang Pingshan and his brother. Her two sons were not blind. In broad daylight, it was impossible for them to make a mistake. If it was really that girl, she would have to teach her a lesson. It had been so long, but there had been no news. Had he forgotten about their family? Sure enough, that girl was an ungrateful person. She was not like Ying, who took their family with her when she came to the capital. However, that girl quietly became the commandery prince's wife and owned such a big farm, but she didn't say anything to them. The more Madame Li thought about it, the angrier she became. She couldn't wait to appear in front of Tang Gua, pull her ears, and scold her immediately. How could Madame Wu not think the same? She had long known that the girl was ungrateful, but she didn't expect that she was so ungrateful. After she became rich and rich, she didn't think about the family Tang at all. Tang Baolin's expression was also very complicated. If it is really that girl, what should we do? We weren't wrong. This girl has forgotten her roots. Do you remember what that girl said before she left? Tang Fengshou remembered something. He crossed his arms and narrowed his eyes, looking in the direction of the city gate. His voice was indifferent. Those words prove that she should be the same as us. That's why she left in a hurry. Although that girl had forgotten her roots, she had been smart since she was young. She was quite capable to climb to the position of romping commandery princess. If he's not an ungrateful wretch, then our Tang family is really in luck. When the few people who had been reborn heard this, their expressions changed. That's right, if it wasn't for the fact that he forgot his roots, wouldn't their old family be rich? Why wasn't their Ying the one who became the princess consort of Rongping? If their Ying was the Junwang Fei, she definitely would not forget them. If their Ying had such a big farm, she would definitely lead the entire family Tang to a life of luxury. But why was it that girl who had forgotten her roots? The family Tang people were indignant here. Tang Gua and Sheng Yin had already sat in the carriage and slowly returned to the city. When the sky turned dark, the city gate would be closed. Under normal circumstances, they couldn't enter again. The sound of the carriage wheels came from afar. The family Tang people, who were originally a little sleepy, suddenly woke up. After waiting for so long, was it finally time? Chapter 29:14. When the luxurious horse carriage appeared in front of them and the sky was about to turn dark, they opened their eyes wide and tried to see who would be getting off the carriage. Sheng Yin got off the carriage first, then turned around and held Tang Gua's hand. In fact, Sheng Yin did not know how to do this at first, but he learned it when he saw that many people in the capital would get off the carriage first and then help the women in the carriage. Since then, even if Tang Gua wanted to get off the carriage first, he would not let her. He insisted that she get off the carriage first and then help her down. Host, the family Tang people are outside your house. They are all watching you. They probably found out about your identity and are here to look for you. The system kindly reminded her, even though it knew that Tang Gua did not care about the life and death of the family Tang people. Tang Gua looked ahead. Sure enough, next to the mansion, she saw a few people staring at them without blinking. Wife, let's go home and sleep. Sheng Yin was a little sleepy. He held Tang Gua's hand and yawned. He could not help but quicken his pace. It would be strange if he was not tired after playing in the mountains for the whole day. When the two of them reached the entrance of the mansion and were about to go in, the family Tang people immediately blocked Tang Gua's way. I told you it was eldest sister, and it really is. I told you I was right. Tang Pingshan looked at Tang Gua with a pair of thick eyebrows and big eyes. His gaze was complicated and a little longing. Longing for what? Glory and wealth, of course. Even if he could not become an official, the value of the Tang family's farm made him very jealous. Gua, it's really you. Madame Li looked at Tang Gua with a face full of smiles. I told you before that this young master is good. Look, when have I ever lied to you? Your two biological brothers have arranged such a good marriage for you. Why didn't you send a letter home all these years? Previously, it was Tang Fengshou who suggested to give this girl another chance. If she did not forget her roots like she did in her previous life, they would be magnanimous and forgive her for the mistakes she made in the past. After all, they were all family Tang people. There was no obstacle that could not be overcome. Everyone had been through so much and had been reborn. It would be unreasonable if the family continued to quarrel. Everyone agreed to Tang Fengshou's suggestion. Yes, they were all family. There was no need to quarrel. As the saying goes, harmony breeds wealth. The Tang family's farm was a big business now. If they quarrel, wouldn't it affect the business? Once the family sat down for a meal, they would be able to have a meal, and they would be able to take care of the farm. Tang Guo's family. Tang Guo glanced at the Tang family members. Looking at their fervent eyes, she coldly said, I already said that we were even on that day. You asked for 150 taels and gave up on me. So, I am no longer part of the family Tang people. Guo, you are telling the truth. What do you mean by no longer part of the family Tang people? Isn't your surname Tang? Madame Wu smiled and walked up to Tang Guo. Her face was full of love, as if the person in front of her was Tang Ying. Guo, are you still angry? Tell me, what is this all about? Didn't Grandma want you to be well? She knew that the royal prince's status was not ordinary. She married you to him so that you could live a good life. Look, aren't you living a good life now? If it weren't for your two brothers and our agreement, would you be able to have everything you have today? Chapter 29:15. Tang Guo was so angry that she almost laughed. Although she knew that the family Tang people were shameless, this shamelessness had really broken the bottom line of shamelessness. Could it be that her good life now was all thanks to this family? You really know how to flatter yourself. Although my surname is Tang, it's not your family's Tang. There are many people with the surname Tang in the world, not just your family. Wife, sleepy. Sheng Yin seemed to feel the malice from the family Tang people and pulled Tang Guo inside. Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing hurriedly stopped them and said, Eldest sister, you can't forget your roots like this. You've enjoyed glory and wealth, and now you've forgotten your birth. Sheng Yin felt Tang Guo's unhappiness, so he flung his sleeves at the two and shouted, Get lost. Her appearance was extremely fierce, but her appearance was a little cute, and not intimidating at all. Royal Prince, although eldest sister is the royal princess consort, she's still our younger sister. You still have to call us eldest brother and second brother. I'm afraid it's not right for you to do this, Tang Pingshan said. Sheng Yin turned back to look at Tang Guo. Tang Guo said to him, They're not my eldest brother and second brother. I don't have a father, a mother, or a brother. I only have you, little fool. Sheng Yin understood and his expression became fierce again, Get out of my way. Don't block my wife's way. After saying that, he waved his hand, Stop them. Don't let them come over and bully my wife. When the guards heard Sheng Yin's order, of course, they immediately stopped the family Tang people. Little fool, well done. They're all bad people. Don't be polite to them when you meet them in the future. Tang Guo's lips curled up slightly. She held Sheng Yin's hand and ran briskly back to the residence, completely ignoring the family Tang people's ugly expressions. You unfilial daughter. Tang Baolin shouted, We raised you for nothing. We knew you were an ingrate. Tang Guo looked back. Go ahead and scold me. Scold me for the rest of your life. You won't get anything from me. She smiled and said, We're all 1,000-year-old foxes, so let's not play games here. We all know what you're thinking. I only have one answer. In your dreams. In your dreams. Close the door. Tang Guo waved her hand, and the door of the mansion was immediately closed. The Tang family members looked at the door that was ruthlessly shut. They were so angry that they gritted their teeth and stomped their feet. They stood there and cursed for a long time. Ungrateful wretch, a little bitch who forgot her roots. Madame Wu was so angry that she cursed, if I had known, I would have killed her. None of the reborn family Tang dynasty members retorted. That was what they thought as well. Then what should we do? We can't go in, so there's really nothing we can do about him. Madame Li looked at the grand entrance of the royal prince's manor. The entrance was already so big, so the residence inside must be even bigger. Anyway, it was better than the one they were living in now. She was extremely vexed. Why wasn't romping commandery princess consort their family's obedient and filial Ying? Why did it have to be this girl? It's getting dark. Let's go back and discuss this. Tang Fengshou was also very angry, but there was nothing he could do for the time being. After all, the other party was romping commandery princess consort. How could they fight against her? I say, that girl of yours is really lucky. In her previous life, she married a minister counselor. In this life, she casually married a fool and he became romping commandery prince. Madame Zhang said to Madame Li sourly, why don't our two girls have that kind of luck? Only Tang Xing picked up what Tang Guo left behind. Chapter 29:16. Now that she got nothing, she was a little annoyed. She had been reborn for so long, but she hadn't seen the glory and wealth she had been looking forward to. The appearance of the family Tang did not affect Tang Guo at all. It was just that when she went out of the city every few days, she would always meet the family on the road. She completely ignored the other party's scorching gaze. During this period, the family Tang even wanted to stop the carriage and talk to her. Before she spoke, her little fool fiercely commanded the people, protect my wife. Tell them to get out of here. Drive them all away. Sheng Yin had already seen that his wife was unhappy with the appearance of the family Tang. Since his wife was unhappy, it was better for the family Tang to not show up. Therefore, Tang Guo didn't interfere in this matter. She would let the little fool do something about this matter. Every time he did something, the little fool would hold his head high and show her an expression as if he was asking for credit. He was so cute that she couldn't help pinching his face and kissing him. As a result, the little fool fiercely drove the family Tang away every time, turned around, pointed at his face, and asked her to kiss him. System, she underestimated the little fool. The family Tang had no way to stop Tang Guo, so they didn't come to her for a few days. However, a few days later, there was a rumor in the capital that the princess had forgotten her roots and was unfilial. For this reason, Great Elder Princess came in person to ask about the situation. After hearing Tang Guo's explanation, Great Elder Princess was a little angry. This family is really shameless. Great Elder Princess was not a soft-hearted person. Although she believed in Buddhism and looked kind, many people had been defeated by her. However, this matter is still bad for your reputation. I don't think you care about it, but you are the boss of the Tang family's farm, and it has a lot to do with it. Great Elder Princess said, so, your reputation has to be good. Tell me, how can I help you? Mother, don't worry. I have already thought of a countermeasure. Great Elder Princess smiled and said, I know you are so smart that you won't be manipulated by them. What are you going to do? I'm going to sue them. Great Elder Princess was stunned. How? Sue them for talking nonsense and slandering me. I am the princess consort of romping commandery princess. How can they insult me so casually? Speaking of which, I am also a relative of the imperial family, am I not, mother? Great Elder Princess nodded and said, then you need evidence to sue them. Yes, Tang Guo replied. Of course she did. There were so many people in family Tang village who were still alive. Weren't they all like that? Did she really give the medicine away for free? When she left, she alarmed the entire village. Was it for nothing? When she left the county town, she even went to the yamen to get a travel permit and told them that the family Tang had sold her for 150 taels of silver. However, her little fool really wanted to marry her, so there was no slave contract. In the county, she had already erased her household registration and made a new one. At this time, the household registration system was not perfect. Officials could be bought and sold, not to mention household registration. The rumors in the capital continued, and Tang Ying knew about it. Because of this, she even had a quarrel with the family Tang people. The family Tang people scolded Tang Guo badly, but they were very gentle to her and didn't mean to scold her at all, which made her very helpless. 2 months later, Tang Guo sued the family Tang people. The family Tang people all came to the capital to testify for Tang Guo. Chapter 29:17. Originally, the people of family Tang village did not want to come. However, the person who was sent to invite them was the same person who took out the medicine that saved their lives. At that time, many people in the county were infected with the plague. The people of family Tang village who went out also came back infected. The plague was so scary that it could kill people in a short time. Just when they were at their wits' end, a person with the medicine appeared and saved the people in the county, including family Tang village. At that time, the other party only said that they came from the capital and that a noble had spent a lot of money to ask someone to make the medicine to cure the plague. They did not expect that this noble was actually Tang Guo. Because they knew the person who took out the medicine, they did not suspect that the other party was lying at all. Only those who had died once and experienced the whole city being sealed at that time. They heard that once they died, they would be burned down. Only then would they understand how important it was to be alive. Therefore, they came. They heard that family Tang village slandered Tang Guo for being unfilial and forgetting her roots. This matter spread like wildfire in the capital. The county magistrate also heard about this matter and specially asked his advisor to bring the evidence to the capital. Therefore, when Tang Guo sued family Tang village, and the case was tried in the emperor's throne room, the entire capital was shocked. Later, they heard that the people who testified for Tang Guo were the entire family Tang village. They were even more incredulous. They also heard that the county magistrate sent evidence about the change in household registration of Tang Guo. When Tang Guo left, she was sold by family Tang village for 150 taels of silver. It was just as the villagers said. There was only a palanquin carried away. There was no matchmaker or etiquette. If this was not selling, what was it? In the throne room, family Tang village was defeated. The evidence is conclusive. The Tang family Tang village's slander of Princess Rongping is true. Drag them out and give each of them 30 beatings. 30 beatings were already very heavy. This family would have to lie on the bed for a while. 50 strokes of the plank could kill someone. Just like that, the family Tang people pestering Tang Guo came to an end. Originally, they thought that they could make the Tang Guo submit, but they did not expect that not only did they not succeed, but they were also beaten. The family Tang was furious, but there was nothing they could do. Tang Ying did not say anything about this. She had tried to persuade them many times, but the Tang family refused to listen. Seeing that they were lying motionless, she could only arrange for 2 people to take care of them. The people from the Tang family kept telling her that she had to work harder and surpass Tang Guo in the future. Tang Ying only felt a little tired in her heart. No wonder big sister didn't care about their feelings. How could she care about them when they were like this? Looking at the Tang family members, Tang Ying felt that if they found out about Gong Jinglin's identity, they would probably cause a lot of trouble. With Gong Jinglin's identity, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause in the future? He probably even wanted to use her to deal with Tang Guo. Tang Ying fell silent. If that was the case, she would still be harming Gong Jinglin if she got together with him. Tang Ying, who had a lot on her mind, was in conflict every day. On the other hand, the Tang family Tang people had a hard time. Their buttocks hurt every day, and they also heard very bad news. The people from the family Tang village did not go back. Tang Guo made the decision to move all of them to the capital. The place where they lived was at the foot of the mountain where the Tang family's farm was. She asked people to build a house there, rented land for them, and gave them work on the farm. When they heard this, the Tang family members were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Madame Wu was so angry that she almost fell ill. That ingrate. I'm so angry. At this moment, the people from the family Tang village looked at Tang Guo like she was a living Buddha. Chapter 29:18. The cost of building the house will be offset by your future salary. After the offset is done, the rest will be earned by yourselves. Those who work hard will get rewarded. Those who don't work hard will get rewarded. Family Tang village is a remote place. Even if you work hard for your entire life, you won't be able to make a name for yourself. I also came from there. Since you haven't forgotten me, of course, I have to help you. Tang Guo looked at the people of family Tang village. Whether you can establish a foothold here will depend on your diligence. There's no special treatment here. Everyone is treated equally. Those who are capable will be able to obtain more. During this period of time, you also know my personality. If anyone relies on the fact that they came from the same place as me and is lazy and causes trouble, they will be dealt with according to the rules. The people of family Tang village remembered this and did not dare to be careless. This opportunity was simply a step to the sky. They were all people who had died once, so they would cherish it. They could not help but despise the people of family Tang village in their hearts. Such a good girl, yet they had to mistreat her. Look, this was retribution. When they came back to their senses, they all looked at their own girls and silently changed their views. They should treat their own girls better. Who said that women were not as good as men? Wasn't this the case in front of them? They should not follow in the footsteps of family Tang village. Tang Guo did not know that her unintentional action had caused the girls of family Tang village to be valued very differently. When the people of family Tang village became richer, they were actually willing to let their girls learn more words. The girls of family Tang village all looked up to her as a role model. They were serious in their work and worked even harder than the men. Under this influence, there were really some outstanding girls of family Tang village. The people of family Tang village did not dare to cause trouble in front of Tang Guo anymore, but their ability to cause trouble did not weaken at all. They did not do any work. The whole family was supported by Tang Ying's medicine shop. Tang Ying and Gong Jinglin's relationship had become much closer. Seeing that she was worried all day, she wanted to help her a little. She even proposed to marry her. She did not expect Tang Ying to reject her. I'll get you into trouble. Tang Ying lowered her head and said, if they find out about your identity, they'll cause you trouble. Since you know that they are all trouble, why do you still listen to them? Is it because they treat you well and listen to you that your heart softens? Haven't you ever thought that they're only nice to you because they want something from you? Tang Ying was silent for a while before she said, I know. They want to get wealth and glory from me. Since you knew, why didn't you resist? Tang Ying was a little confused. They didn't do anything wrong to me. How can I resist? That's because they're sure that they can get what they want from you. That's why they won't do anything to let you down. Gong Jinglin thought that he needed to use a heavy dose of medicine. Every time he saw his uncle and aunt loving each other, even if his uncle wasn't as smart and was much smarter than him, he could still hug his wife to sleep at night. He was not young anymore, but he still stayed alone in an empty room every day. He missed Tang Ying so much that he was about to become lovesick. Tang Ying felt very uncomfortable under Gong Jinglin's gaze. She had nowhere to hide from his burning gaze. Ying, do you believe that I'm wholeheartedly good to you? Tang Ying answered without hesitation, I do. I know that you can't do anything to the family Tang people, but if you continue like this, they will affect your life. Are you really willing to be entangled with them for the rest of your life and not be able to live a happy life? Because they have never treated you harshly, you can't be ruthless. But what if you no longer have the wealth and glory that they hope for? Tang Ying looked at Gong Jinglin in confusion. What do you mean? This time, listen to me, Gong Jinglin said. If their final choice is still to treat you the same as before, Gong Jinglin will accept it. I'll marry you and take care of them at the same time. If they treat you differently, I'll marry you and send them back to the family Tang village. What do you think? Chapter 29:19. After slandering Tang Guo last time, the Tang family members were beaten 30 times. They finally understood what it meant to be an imperial power, and what it meant to be a nobody. Although every time Tang Guo's carriage went out of the city from the commandery prince's mansion, the family of Tang still couldn't help secretly watching. In the face of the powerful guards on both sides of the carriage, they didn't dare to act rashly. After the previous lesson, they didn't dare to take a step forward. The main reason was that Tang Guo's household register had long been separated from the family of Tang, and now she had lived in the commandery Prince Romping's mansion in the capital. In other words, although Tang Guo's surname was Tang, she was no longer a member of the family of Tang. Thinking of what the emperor said in the throne room that day, they still felt weak in the legs. Did they resent Tang Guo? Of course they did. However, ordinary people like them couldn't afford to provoke the imperial family. Tang Guo could sue them because she didn't care about the family of Tang. They were unwilling to give up at first, but after analyzing the pros and cons, they thought that if they continued to make trouble here, they might lose their lives. Especially later, Great Elder Princess appeared and said a few words to them. If they dared to provoke her again, there would be no place for them to stay in the capital. Looking at Tang Guo's carriage leaving, they were filled with hatred, envy, and a trace of regret. If they had known that this girl was so powerful, they wouldn't have fallen out with her. Well, don't think about these useless things. Don't we still have Ying? Tang Fengshou said. He looked much calmer than others, but in fact, he was unwilling to give up. But when he thought of the 30 beatings he had received before, he felt a great pain in his butt. This might be the first time in his life that he had been beaten. It would be a disgrace if he told others about it. Grandpa, Ying is in the drugstore all day long. She is either treating patients, getting medicine, or reading medical books. Didn't you say that Ying is promising? Why has she been in the capital for so long? I don't think she can compare with Xiao Guo in her life. The person who spoke was Tang Guo's cousin, Tang Ping. There were very few people in this family who had not been reborn. She had disliked Tang Ying for a long time. Although she was much prettier now, the whole family cared about Tang Ying and said that she was promising. In her opinion, this might not be the case, right? Xiao Guo was at least the owner of the Tang family's farm and the princess consort of Romping Commandery Princess. With the support of the emperor and great elder princess, how could Tang Ying stand out? She had inquired about Great Elder Princess's status in the emperor's heart. Even the concubines in the imperial palace had to be respectful in front of Great Elder Princess, let alone the princes of the emperor. Great Elder Princess was the elder of the prince's grandmother. In short, Tang Ping did not think highly of Tang Ying. She thought that the whole family was crazy. Back then, when they doted on Tang Guo, she was more convinced. Tang Guo had been smart since she was a child. She learned everything faster than others. Even embroidery was better than them, so it was natural for them to dote on her. Suddenly, they inexplicably abandoned the watermelon and picked up Tang Ying, a sesame seed. She couldn't understand. If they hadn't offended Xiao Guo, the family would have settled down in the capital and worked in the farm like those people in family Tang village. They were related by blood, so they would definitely have a better life than the people in family Tang village. What do you know? Madame Wu scolded, Ying is a good girl. It's only a matter of time before she becomes rich. Chapter 29:20. Tang Ying could clearly sense the impatience of the family. The family had always been staying in the house that Gong Jinglin had arranged for them. She was the one who took care of all the expenses of the family. This was not a big deal. After all, she was capable and could still earn some money in the capital. Gong Jinglin had already settled a place for her to stay, so it was not a problem to support a family. The problem was that this family seemed to really think that they were out of poverty. They did not do anything all day and just stayed in the house as masters, madams, young masters, and young mistresses. After dinner, Tang Ying reminded the family appropriately if they wanted to find some work in the capital. If they wanted to settle down in the capital, they still had to earn some income. She opened a medicine shop. The people inside, including a doctor, were all found by Gong Jinglin. Before this, she had even asked the family if they wanted two of them to work in her medicine shop. She would still pay them their wages. She did not expect them to refuse. Now that they had been in the capital for so many days, did they really not have any thoughts? When the Tang family heard that Tang Ying wanted them to find work, they were all stunned. The first person to react was MDM Wu. Ying, did that young Master Lin help your eldest brother and second brother find jobs? Is that why you mentioned this? MDM Li's expression lit up. Ying, what kind of jobs did young Master Lin help your eldest brother and second brother find? How high is the rank of an official? Because of Gong Jinglin's previous performance, they thought that Gong Jinglin was an official. Of course, they did not think that he was a prince. In addition, when the family was sued last time, Gong Jinglin deliberately avoided it to prevent the other party from finding out and causing a lot of trouble. Tang Ying also deliberately hid Gong Jinglin's identity to prevent him from being implicated by the family. Your eldest brother and second brother are both not bad. Is the job that young Master Lin gave them promising? Tang Baolin asked. This matter concerned his two sons, so he still attached great importance to it. It was because of this that they did not propose marriage for the two of them. Firstly, the two of them weren't that old. They were only 17 or 18 years old. Secondly, they wanted to find a good job in the future. When their status was high, the daughter-in-law they married would definitely have a higher family background. Those village girls were definitely not worthy of his two sons. His eldest uncle's son, Tang Pingchun, was already 26 or 27 years old and had already gotten married a few years ago. However, eldest uncle only had one son, so he still brought him to the capital in hopes that his grandson would have a good future. No matter what, this family still believed that it was more important to have a son who could carry on the family line for the old family Tang. Little sister, hurry up and tell me. What kind of job did young Master Lin give us? How high is it? Tang Ying's expression was a little indescribable. She put down her bowl and chopsticks and looked at the Tang family members with burning eyes. Her lips and teeth curled up slightly. Young Master Lin has been very busy recently. I haven't even seen him. Did he arrange errands for big brother and second brother? She observed the expressions of the family members and could see the disappointment in their eyes. However, they still stared at her without blinking. What I mean is that we've been in the capital for almost a year. If we want to establish a foothold in the capital, we still have to find some jobs to make a living. Tang Ying noticed that the expressions of the family members changed a lot. As if she did not see it, she continued, now that I've opened a medicine shop, it's not a problem to support a family. However, if we want to be rich and save up a family fortune, our family will have to work hard. Chapter 29-21. I believe that with our family's hard work, we'll be able to accumulate a fortune sooner or later. She actually had many ideas in her mind. There were many rich people in the capital. Just by thinking of ways to make delicious food and open a small restaurant, they would earn a lot. Moreover, with Gong Jinglin's support, no one would come looking for trouble. There was really no need. Everything had to be fed to them. She remembered that in the second dream, Gong Jinglin and she both thought that the family Tang people were treating her like a bag. She had really considered all aspects of them. Gong Jinglin did not directly give them jobs because they were illiterate. With his temperament, he would not directly give them official positions. Therefore, he invited a martial arts master to teach them martial arts. The two of them were quite talented in this aspect and learned well. In the end, under Gong Jinglin's recommendation, they went to take the military examination. However, the two of them were not suitable for officialdom at all. Even if they were military officials, their official positions were very low. Their progress was not smooth. They either caused trouble or were ostracized. They often complained to her. If they could not be officials, they would invest in their business. Under the protection of the two of them, the Tang family members still stumbled along and often caused trouble, causing a lot of trouble. Didn't young Master Lin arrange a job for your eldest brother and second brother? Madame Wu asked. Yingying, your eldest brother and second brother are so young and so good to you. Why don't you ask young Master Lin to arrange a job for them? Ping Shan and Ping Qing are good. I think they're suited to be officials. The others nodded and agreed with Madame Wu's words, indicating that Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing were indeed suited to be officials. As long as their family produced two officials, they would really bring honor to their ancestors. Tang Ying was silent for a moment and said, Grandma, young Master Lin doesn't have that much power. He can't make whoever he wants an official. This is under the Emperor's rule. Once he's discovered, he'll lose his head. Actually, she knew that the current dynasty had not implemented a real imperial examination yet. If one didn't become an official through donations, then one had to have talent and be recommended by others. Many talented people would want to take a teacher as their master. Usually, the person who became a teacher had a higher official position and was able to recommend talents to the emperor. Before they were recommended to the emperor, they would examine the person. If the person was qualified in their minds, they would be brought to the emperor for examination. If the emperor's performance was good, he would give them an official position. If it was some remote or minor official position, it could be bought. Furthermore, in some parts of the dynasty, there are countless cases of official positions being sold off. This was also a sore point of the current emperor, and he had been trying to change it. However, there were too many parasites, and the emperor sometimes found it difficult. However, in a place like Beijing, it was much better. As the saying goes, under the feet of the Son of Heaven, if one were to really infuriate a true dragon, it would be easy for him to find an excuse to deal with the other party. The imperial examination system had actually been proposed long ago. However, such a system was not something that could be completed in a day or two. The predecessors built the roads, and the descendants enjoyed the blessings. The predecessors planted the trees, and the descendants enjoyed the shade. It was only through the efforts of the current emperor and the succession of Gong Jinglin that these systems could be implemented one by one. Therefore, as the next emperor, Gong Jinglin probably already had some ideas. The current emperor's plan was handed over to Gong Jinglin. Therefore, Gong Jinglin would definitely not touch this bottom line. The Tang family people thought of everything too simply. Chapter 29-22. After Tang Ying's explanation, the family was very disappointed. At the same time, they also thought highly of Gong Jinglin in their hearts. This young Master Lin's status was probably not as high as that fool's. Perhaps it was because they were so disappointed that they had some opinions about Tang Ying. When Tang Ying was free, she helped the family find work and suggested that they do it. Then let's do some work first. Tang Fengshou said. They could not go on like this. He was also very disappointed. It turned out that young Master Lin was not as powerful as he had imagined. It was mainly because they had Tang Gua as a comparison. Otherwise, they would not be so disappointed. The Tang family members reluctantly went to work, especially Tang Pingshan and his brother. They were very unwilling to do so. They had agreed to help them find work, but in the end, young Master Lin was useless. This little sister was not as powerful as their eldest sister. The two of them were working as waiters in the restaurant. When they were free, they would discuss the current situation. It seems that young Master Lin can't compare to eldest brother-in-law. If I had known earlier, I would have treated eldest sister better, Tang Pingqing said. Tang Pingshan mocked, so what if you treated her better? She's not an ingrate. How could she think of us? Have you forgotten what happened in your previous life? Of course, Tang Pingshan remembered. He hesitated for a moment and said, actually, eldest sister did her best in her previous life. Eldest brother, we all know that eldest sister's life was not good in Squire Zhang's house. It was not good, but it was better than starving to death. She wore silk and satin and ate delicacies. When there was a famine, the courtyard was filled with the fragrance of meat. Tang Pingshan lowered his voice. But what did she give us? Maybe she can't make the decision. Even if she can't make the decision, she is still Squire Zhang's daughter-in-law and the young madam of the Zhang family. Even those jewelry can be exchanged for a lot of money, right? The two of them did not speak anymore and continued to work. They carried the dishes and sent them to a VIP room. Stay here and pour wine for me. Hearing the guest's order, the two of them could only stand aside. They did not dare to look too much, but they could feel that the people in the room were either rich or noble. Ninth Prince, have you really taken a fancy to that little girl from the medicine shop in the west of the city? Yes, I've never seen such a special woman. Since the Ninth Prince likes her, why don't you take her in? With your status, taking her in is a blessing that she can't cultivate in 10 lifetimes. I sent someone to ask her earlier. She said that she would only be a wife, not a concubine. This woman really doesn't know what's good for her. With her status, being able to catch the eye of the Ninth Prince was already a blessing to her ancestors. After entering the prince's mansion, in the future when the Ninth Prince succeeds, she will be able to enter the palace and become an imperial concubine. What's wrong with that? Don't talk nonsense. I didn't think about it that way. If she was willing to enter the Fu, in the future, I would be an idle Wang Yi. No matter what, I would make her a concubine. If it wasn't for her low status, I would really want her to be a princess consort. The two brothers listened to the whole story. After the guest left, they hurriedly ran to the west of the city. Sure enough, other than Tang Ying's pharmacy, there was nothing else there. They were afraid that the news was fake, so they observed for 2 days and found that people really did send gifts to Tang Ying every day, but they were all rejected by her. Therefore, the two of them went home and told the family about this matter. Madame Wu immediately jumped up. Is that person really a prince? Chapter 29-23. Grandma, I'm sure that it's really a prince. It should be the Ninth Prince. He likes the food in that restaurant very much. The shopkeeper asked them to serve him well and be especially respectful. He's been here a few times. Every time he comes, he misses little sister. It seems that he really likes little sister, Tang Pingshan said. Tang Pingqing added, we even went to wait outside the medicine shop. Little sister kept rejecting the gifts they gave her, but the other party didn't get angry. Every time they talked about little sister, they had a look of regret on their face. He's the Ninth Prince. Even with our status, he didn't snatch her away. It's obvious that he really likes little sister. The family Tang people were energized. They decided to confirm it again. The Ninth Prince was a prince who might become the emperor in the future. If their Yingying entered the prince's residence, she would at least be an imperial concubine in the future and give birth to a prince. The more they thought about it, the more the family Tang people could not hold back. Once they confirmed it was true, they had to persuade Tang Ying. At this moment, Gong Jinglin was talking to Tang Gua about something at the Tang family's farm. Auntie, you won't blame me, right? Tang Gua smiled and said, why would I blame you? Do what you should and do well. When everything is over, chase them back to family Tang village. That place is the most suitable for them. Gong Jinglin understood. Perhaps his aunt was his aunt, but she should have been reborn like the family Tang people, right? For this reason, he had specially sent people to investigate Steward Zhang's family. Steward Zhang's only son was indeed unreasonable. When he sent people to investigate, Tang Xing was already tortured beyond recognition. He had told Tang Ying about this matter and finally got someone to settle Tang Xing down. "Auntie, there are still many things waiting for me. I'll take my leave first." "Okay." Tang Guo's mother sent Gong Jinglin off. Then, a pair of hands covered her eyes. Sheng Yin's voice sounded, "Wife, you're not allowed to look at him." Tang Guo reached out and held his hand. "If I don't look at him, who should I look at?" Sheng Yin sat opposite her with a serious expression. "Look at me." His tone was extremely fierce, but it sounded like he had not been weaned. "Okay, I'll look at you." Host, Gong Jinglin's move really hit the nail on the head. No matter how soft-hearted Tang Ying was, what happened next would probably make her completely disappointed in the Tang family. He's the male lead after all. This kind of thing is a piece of cake. The world was still waiting for him to change it. If he can't even do such a simple thing, how could the emperor hand over those important systems to him and still pave the way for him? The current emperor was not a muddle-headed person, but he clearly knew that changing these things could not be done overnight. Therefore, he chose to be the one paving the way. Father and son worked together to change this dynasty and walk in a new direction. After the Tang family members discussed it, they were very decisive. After comparing the 9th prince and Mr. Lin, they finally chose the 9th prince. When Tang Ying heard Madame Wu's words, although she had expected it, she still couldn't believe it. She said, "Grandmother, the one I like is young Master Lin." "Ying, how can young Master Lin compare to the 9th prince? Look at how good the 9th prince is to you. He sent you so many good things. I can't even count them all. These gold head ornaments are all rare things. Only those madams can have them. Besides, I haven't seen young Master Lin twice since he came to the capital. Perhaps he has already forgotten about them. But young Master Lin helped us find a place to stay. I was also able to open a medicine shop because of young Master Lin," Tang Ying said. Chapter 29-24. The 9th prince agreed. "As long as you're willing to marry into the family, they'll give us a bigger house with a better location and better lighting. It'll be much bigger than this place. They'll also send some maids and servants over." Madame Wu said with a smile. Moreover, he also promised to help your eldest brother and second brother with some errands. In the future, your eldest brother and second brother will become officials. Don't you like them? They dote on you so much. Everyone was trying to persuade her. This made Tang Ying's heart turn cold. She said stubbornly, "But I only like young Master Lin. I don't want to be anyone's concubine." Young Master Lin said that he'll definitely marry me. "What concubine? Wife? Do you really take this man's words seriously? Even if he marries you, won't he take in concubines? These noble men must have many wives and concubines. Ying, how can you be so naive? Since it's all the same, why don't you choose a noble one? You might even become an imperial concubine in the future. When you give birth to a prince, you can still fight for it," Madame Zhang said. "Grandmother, mother, I really don't like the 9th prince. Help us get him back." Tang Ying thought that whether it was in the second dream or the first dream, Gong Jinglin had promised her that they would be together forever. Not only did he promise, but he also did it. In this world, not all men had to have many wives and concubines. At least, Gong Jinglin was different. For a few days, the family members tried to persuade Tang Ying. However, she refused to listen. She went to the medicine shop every day, which made the family members a little impatient. The 9th prince's people also urged her every day. They even said that if Tang Ying did not agree, then forget it. They would carry the betrothal gifts back. Naturally, the previous promise would not count. This made the family members a little flustered. However, the ninth prince made another decision. He gave Tang Pingshan first. Tang Pingqing planned the errands and let them do it. He also sent people over and moved them all to the big house. A group of maids and women served them. After enjoying the family for more than 10 days, they all liked such a luxurious life. At this moment, the ninth prince's people came to urge her again. They asked when the Tang Guo would agree. If she didn't agree, then everything would return to its original position. Wouldn't returning to their original positions mean stripping them of everything? When Tang Ying was forced into the palanquin, she could not believe it. It was just like how they had forced her elder sister to marry her brother-in-law. She found it ridiculous. Tang Ying was naturally not carried into the ninth prince's residence. Instead, she was carried into another residence prepared by Gong Jinglin. There was indeed a ninth prince, but he was Gong Jinglin's younger brother. He was only 13 years old this year. Third brother, this is our future sister-in-law. The ninth prince shook his head. Future royal sister-in-law, third brother is doing very well. You can stay here. When third brother's matters are settled, I will marry you. The ninth prince revered martial arts and had no interest in power. This house is right next to mine. If anyone dares to disturb my future sister-in-law, just shout twice. I promised my third brother that I would protect you. Tang Ying thought that the ninth prince was joking. Later on, she saw this young man shatter a wall with a single palm strike. Only then did she believe it. Princes would not be chased out of the palace until they were 15 years old. However, the third prince could not stay in the palace. He said that he often practiced martial arts and would damage the palace if he was not careful. He damaged the palace several times. The emperor was afraid and quickly chased him out. Ying, trust me. Don't worry anymore. I will take care of everything. Chapter 29-25. Gong Jinglin said, perhaps this is a little cruel to you, but indecisiveness will lead to trouble. When you saw what they did today, you understood that they don't care about you. If they really care about you, they would have made a different choice this time. Even if they're a bunch of trouble, I'm willing to accept them. Tang Ying nodded repeatedly. No need to say any more. I know. You handle it. She was just a transmigrator and did not have much feelings for the family Tang. The only thing that troubled her was that they had always been too good to her. Actually, how could she not have guessed it? She just did not want to believe it. Now that everything was clear, there was no need to do anything. Ever since Tang Ying was carried into the ninth prince's residence, the family Tang's life was still comfortable. However, Tang Ping hesitated. Will Ying really not bear a grudge if we do this? What if Ying bears a grudge and ignores us like Xiao Guo in the future? Won't the result be the same? Actually, Tang Ping was very afraid. For the sake of glory and wealth, they had sent away Xiao Guo and now sent Ying away. They had used almost the same method. Although she was not a peerless beauty, she had been well taken care of in the past year and could be considered a pretty daughter of a humble family. Perhaps this family would also send her away for some reason. Thinking of this, Tang Ping was very desperate. Ying is not Xiao Guo. She won't forget her roots. When she becomes an empress in the future, she will remember our kindness, Madame Wu said. Madame Li fiddled with the golden bracelet on her wrist. Yes, Ying is not that ingrate. She won't bear a grudge. The others were the same, including those who had been reborn. They were so sure because they had never treated Tang Ying well. They had treated her harshly since she was born. However, at the end of her previous life, when Tang Ying left, she still left them so much money. It could be seen that Tang Ying really did not bear a grudge. When her life was better in the future, she would forget these things. Tang Ping felt a chill down her spine when she heard this. Gong Jinglin did not let the family Tang move out for the time being. Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing did their jobs well. However, as before, they had bad tempers and were especially arrogant. They did not get along well with others and were easily ostracized. However, the two brothers were certain that Tang Ying was going to become the empress, so they were very arrogant. Before this, he had told them to let them dance for a while. It was not until half a year later that the family was chased out of the house by someone who came out of nowhere. The other party told them that the house had been sold. The family Tang had forgotten to check where Tang Ying had been carried to. He couldn't find anyone to help him, so he was chased out awkwardly. However, it was still Tang Pingshan who found the housekeeper who had brought them to the mansion and asked to see Tang Ying. The butler glanced at him. Who is Tang Ying? After Tang Pingshan's explanation, the butler finally remembered. Are you talking about the lady who opened the pharmacy in the west of the city half a year ago? Yes. She was sold off a few months ago. She swore that she would rather die than submit. My master got impatient and sold her off. In any case, she's just a concubine. Since master doesn't like her, then it's best to sell her, so as to avoid bringing bad luck to the family. What? Alright, don't ask so much. I don't know where she was sold to either. Back then, young master gave you so much money and let you live in this house for so long. It has long surpassed Tang Ying's value. Hurry up and get lost. Don't make young master unhappy. If you're looking for someone, go ahead. I'll point you in the right direction. Just point to the red light district and look for him. The family Tang was dumbfounded. When Tang Guo found out that the family Tang was going to sue the ninth prince, she spat out a mouthful of water. Big sister, what's the matter? Tang Ying asked. Gong Jinglin was afraid that she would be bored alone, so he sent her to Tang Guo's place. She asked curiously when she saw Tang Guo almost choking when she read the letter. Chapter 29-26. That's what happened. Tang Guo saw that Tang Ying was also stunned and said with a faint smile, I don't know who gave them the courage to think that they can sue the prince whenever they want. Putting everything else aside, Tang Ying was originally unwilling to enter the ninth prince's residence, but they forced her into it. Just like how they treated her, not only did they shove her in, but they did not even look at her, let alone care about how Tang Ying would be doing in the ninth prince's residence. Was it because they thought that if they moved to a bigger house, with a bunch of maids and women serving them, and a large sum of money, and Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing being given jobs, they would be able to sit back and relax? In her opinion, this family was a one-off business. They would look for Tang Ying when they needed her. Now that they were living a comfortable life, what else could they want? Also, Tang Ying's resistance made them dissatisfied. In addition, the ninth prince's tough attitude made them think that if they shoved Tang Ying in, the other party would definitely be rich and prosperous. I overestimated them. When Tang Ying heard that the family Tang people only remembered her after half a year, it was only because they were chased out of the family. She recalled the reason why the family Tang people could stay so close to her every time in her second dream. That was because the family Tang people were always causing trouble. Every time they caused trouble, she was the one who solved it. She helped solve many problems, so the family Tang people naturally knew her importance. In the past half a year, the family Tang people lived very comfortably. Almost everything was avoided and they did not cause any trouble. They only remembered her after they were chased out of the family. Now that they had sued the ninth prince, Tang Ying was also part of the family Tang people, so she completely gave up and did not intend to care about it anymore. The reason why the family Tang people only remembered Tang Ying after so long was because Gong Jinglin had been worried sick about them for the past half a year. In order to let them live comfortably for the first half of the year and not remember Tang Ying, he arranged for people to watch over the family Tang people every day. This was not a simple job. In order to let him and Tang Ying have a good life in the future, he had indeed put in a lot of effort. Big sister, I understand. Tang Ying felt relieved. From now on, I won't waver in the slightest regarding their matters. Gong Jinglin had done too much for her. How could she become a burden to him? She knew the character of the Tang family. Gong Jinglin must have done a lot of things for them to not cause any trouble for half a year. It was better to send the family Tang people back to family Tang village. That place was more suitable for them. Do you want to go out? Tang Ying shook her head. No, don't you know what kind of people they are? Besides, I'm not as decisive as big sister. If I really show up, I can't guarantee that I won't be soft-hearted and help them when they beg me pitifully. If we help them this time, they might not be able to get rid of us after tasting the benefits. Tang Ying sighed. It's better to give them some money and let them go back to the family Tang village. You're still too kind. Tang Guo laughed and said, you ask someone to give them money, isn't that giving them hope? Let them think that there's definitely someone in the capital who's willing to help them. First of all, they'll think of you and the so-called young Master Lin. Maybe they'll think that you were sold and that young Master Lin happened to save you in the end. Then, they'll still stick to you and won't let go. Tang Ying was stunned. Then big sister, what do you think we should do? Chapter 29-27. They only gave you your life. When they forced you into the palanquin, you were even with them. The money and houses they received were more than they could earn in a few lifetimes. So, you don't owe them anything. Why should you give them money? Now that they have falsely accused the 9th prince, they should be punished with dozens of paddles, banished from the capital, and deprived of the right to enter the capital forever. No, it's best that they can't take a step out of the county. Otherwise, they will be arrested as fugitives. Tang Ying was shocked. Then, she thought about it. Tang Guo's words were reasonable. The person the family Tang people had accused was the 9th prince. The current emperor was a merciful person. Otherwise, they might have been killed directly. Why do you sympathize with them? After all, after they were chased out, they were injured with paddles. They might even die on the road, Tang Guo said with a smile. Tang Ying's face turned pale. She was someone who had received a modern education, but she had lived in this world for a few years. She knew that this was not a world of human rights, but a world of imperial power. Imperial power was not to be casually offended. Do you like Jinglin? Tang Ying nodded subconsciously. Of course, she liked him. She had already planned to be with him for the rest of her life. Unlike in her dream, she would not tire him out. She had to help him recuperate and extend his life. Since you like Jinglin, no matter where he sits in the future, you can't drag him down because of a moment of kindness. If you are soft-hearted to those who have made mistakes, you will only cause trouble for him. There are many pitiful people in this world, but the family Tang people are not pitiful people. In order to let you see the true colors of the family Tang people, no, you have seen the true colors of the family Tang people long ago. But because they have never done anything to hurt you, you can't even stay away from them. Once they beg a little, you can't help but be soft-hearted. Jinglin has actually reached a very critical moment, but he is still willing to use half a year to help you deal with this problem. If you still can't be ruthless, maybe he won't say anything, but he will definitely live a very tiring life. He will be tired from protecting you, from helping you deal with all kinds of soft-hearted troubles, and from dealing with all the troublesome things around him. Big sister, I really know. Tang Ying almost burst into tears. Yes, whether it was in the first dream or the second dream, her heart had always been very soft, causing Gong Jinglin to help her deal with countless troublesome matters. If she hadn't been soft-hearted and stupid, with his intelligence and decisiveness, it wouldn't have been so troublesome, and he wouldn't have been caught by those old foxes. I'll have to disturb you during this period of time. It's fine. Feel free to stay. Tang Guo smiled. She glanced at the door and saw the corner of the fluttering clothes. She stood up and said, I've chatted with you. That little fool has been waiting for me. He's been waiting for too long. Tang Guo opened the door, and Sheng Yin hurriedly held her hand. Wife, it's time to see the hens line up to lay eggs. Let's go. I haven't forgotten. I'll forget anything but this. As Tang Ying watched the two of them leave together, an envious look appeared in her eyes. Although brother-in-law didn't seem like a normal person, he only had eyes for Big Sister. Big Sister was decisive and wouldn't be controlled by others at all. She lived a carefree life. Tang Ying clenched her fists. Although she was destined to not be carefree, she had to learn to be decisive and not be soft-hearted. People who have made mistakes don't deserve sympathy. Chapter 29-28. Big Sister was right. There were so many pitiful people in the world, but the family Tang people were not pitiful. When the emperor saw the family Tang people, he was amused. The family Tang people were like a group of clowns. He, who knew the inside story, was so angry that he almost laughed. You said you want to sue Ninth Prince? Yes, Your Majesty. The Ninth Prince sold this commoner's granddaughter. Tang Fengshou had a pitiful expression on his face as he told the story. In short, the Ninth Prince's side was the weak one. It was the Ninth Prince who took the girl by force and did not cherish the family Tang girl. Madame Wu, Madame Li, and Madame Zhang were crying. Then what kind of justice do you want? The emperor asked. Tang Fengshou said, I want an explanation from the Ninth Prince. An explanation? The emperor asked with a smile. What kind of explanation? Do you want me to punish Ninth Prince? If what you said is true, Ninth Prince did commit the crime of kidnapping a girl, so he should be punished. The emperor looked at Tang Fengshou and the others. Have you found her? The family Tang people were silent. So, you haven't found her, right? Well, since you haven't found her, when Ninth Prince comes and confronts you to prove that he did something excessive and sold your family Tang girl, I will punish him according to the law. In addition, I will help you find the family Tang girl. At that time, you can choose whether you want me to arrange a marriage for her, or you want money and material compensation, or give her a title. She can marry freely and won't be laughed at by others. You can choose one of these three. The emperor had a meaningful look on his face. You can choose first before Ninth Prince comes. As for why the Ninth Prince did not come, it was not because he was late, but because the emperor asked him to sleep a little longer. He could come later. Children were still growing. It was not good for their health to wake up so early. The Ninth Prince knew very well that his imperial father must have had some ideas, which was why he had people say such nonsense to him. But he remembered these words and stayed until a certain time before slowly entering the palace. At this moment, the family Tang people fell into silence. Have you thought about it? A quarter of an hour later, the emperor asked again. Seeing that the sun was rising, he said, let's choose first. Old Nine will be here soon. This commoner's family has decided to choose the second option. Regarding this commoner's granddaughter's marriage, we will bring her back to family Tang village. There, no one will recognize her and she will live a peaceful life. Even if His Majesty's decree and title, it won't be able to stop the rumors from spreading. It's better to live in seclusion. He explained so much just because the Tang family wanted to look good. Tang Ying had been sold, and it was still a brothel. It could be said that it was done for. Who would want such a girl? Betrothal and title only sounded nice, but it wasn't as practical as money. At this time, the Ninth Prince arrived. Imperial Father, I heard that someone wants to sue me. A young boy walked in from outside the palace. He was handsome and had a cold expression. He bowed respectfully to the emperor and asked, I don't know who wants to sue me, but I have been practicing martial arts in the residence all day, striving to be able to expand the territory for Imperial Father as soon as possible. I have not gone out for many days. The members of the Tang family subconsciously looked at the Ninth Prince, and they were all stunned. Here, it's these people. They said that you, after hearing the emperor's words, the ninth prince walked in front of the Tang family people with a strange expression. Who is this Tang Ying you are talking about? This prince is only 13 years old this year, and I only want to practice martial arts. Chapter 29-29. This prince's Nigong mantra has yet to reach the Desheng level, so I'm not allowed to get close to women. You have to see clearly that the sin of slandering this prince is not something you can bear. The family Tang people were dumbfounded. Your Majesty, this commoner can guarantee that it was really the ninth prince who snatched Ying and put her on the sedan chair. Then, he sold Ying and Mai. This was personally said by the ninth prince's butler. There's absolutely no mistake. The ninth prince asked, then have you seen the ninth prince before? Then, the ninth prince even asked his butler to show up. The family Tang people were still unwilling to give up. They shouted that it might be another prince who pretended to be the ninth prince and snatched Ying away. The emperor was a little unhappy. Although his aunt had told him about it, the shamelessness of this family still made him a little speechless. Old ninth, go and ask your brothers to come over. Then, he looked coldly at the family Tang people. If there's no ninth prince like you said, then I'll punish you according to the law. Although the emperor is guilty of the same crime as the commoners, this is not a reason for you to falsely accuse a prince. The ninth prince's cheeks twitched. His father really knew how to lie through his teeth. Then, the family Tang people met all the princes, including the little prince who was still in swaddling clothes. When they saw a very familiar person among the princes, their eyes widened and they blurted out, "Young Master Lin." Then, there was no more. The family Tang people were unreasonable. First, they falsely accused the princess consort of Rongping. Second, they falsely accused the ninth prince. The emperor ordered them to be beaten 30 times and then banished from the capital forever. They were driven back to the family Tang village and were never allowed to leave the county where the family Tang village was located. Otherwise, they would be treated as fugitives. The family Tang people have been thrown out of the capital. Tang Guo held the letter and said to Tang Ying, they saw Jing Lin in the throne room. Tang Fengshou was so angry that he fainted on the spot. At this time, Gong Jinglin was taking revenge on the family Tang people. For glory and wealth, he treated his beloved as a commodity. How could he bear it? Based on their current situation, Tang Kor and Tang Fengshou's long journey will be difficult. Big sister, you don't have to say any more. I've thought it through. Tang Ying chased away the pity in her heart. She could not be soft-hearted anymore and dragged them down. I'll slowly get used to it. They brought all of this upon themselves. They can't blame anyone else. Alright, Jing Lin sent a message saying that the emperor will be bringing the princes over for dinner in a while. Then should I avoid it? After all, her identity was very sensitive. No need. Aren't you my little sister? You're also the doctor who helped eliminate the plague back then. The drugs that you developed to prevent and cure all kinds of diseases are very useful. Don't be afraid, your status is not low. Tang Ying's eyes were a little hot. Rongping Commandery Princess Consort's younger sister indeed had a high status. Over the past few years, she had indeed been researching medicine for some diseases that were difficult to treat in the ancient world. She hoped to be able to shine here and help Gong Jinglin solve some of his problems. After the family Tang people were driven out of Beijing, they had no choice but to return to the family Tang village with their injuries. Tang Fengshou and Madame Wu were also very lucky and did not die. However, when they returned to the family Tang village, they were greatly injured and often came looking for them when they were sick. Without Tang Ying's constant care, the family Tang village was empty. If they wanted to see a doctor, they had to go to the county. Everyone in the county knew about the deeds of the family Tang people and did not like them at all. Chapter 29-30. Although they still had some money in their hands, the whole family was lazy and had basically used up all their savings. Soon, the days were spent crying and being poor. Not long after, eldest uncle's daughter-in-law, Tang Pingchuan's wife, could not stand such a life and ran back to her parents' home. Tang Baolin and Tang Baowen were both over 50 years old and could only endure. The two old people could not work anymore and were not liked by them. They starved all day long and were hanging on by a thread. Everyone knew about Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing. They did not have any family background, so who would dare to marry into their family? The only young daughter of family Tang, Tang Ping, ran away overnight when she heard that the family Tang people were going to sell her for money and food. No matter where she ran to, it was fine as long as she was not in family Tang village. This time, the family could only gnaw on tree roots. Madame Wu and Tang Fengshuo starved to death. When they died, the two of them suddenly remembered that in their previous lives, there was a famine and cold weather, but it was not as bad as now. Although they did not eat well and wore good clothes, they still had something. Even if their old clothes were infested with worms, they could at least keep them warm and fill their stomachs. With such a loss, the two of them starved to death. Later on, the people who starved to death were Tang Baolin and Tang Baowen. After all, they were old and could not find food. If the young did not give it to them, how could they compete with the young? At this time, only 3 bachelors and a child were left in family Tang village. Later on, the child also starved to death. If the adults could not eat their fill, why would they give it to a child? After that, no one knew what happened. In short, after a long time, there was really no one left in family Tang village. Many years later, Gong Jinglin was already the emperor and Tang Ying was already the empress. Without the family Tang people holding them back, and with Tang Ying as a good wife, she would tell Gong Jinglin everything she had seen every night. This made Gong Jinglin's reform of the dynasty's system in this life even more perfect. Gong Jinglin realized that Tang Ying was still a little different from in his dream. She was much smarter than in his dream. Most women in this world could not compare to her talent. The reason why he said that was because his aunt should be more powerful than Tang Ying. Tang Ying also realized that Gong Jinglin was a little different from how he was in her dream. This fellow did not work as hard as he did in her dream. Almost every morning and night, he would practice his swordsmanship. Every 10 days, he would get the imperial physician to check on their bodies. It was as if he was especially afraid of death. Suddenly, one day, both of them understood something. That night, they looked at each other and said at the same time, "Many years ago, I had 2 dreams." After that, they smiled at each other and fell asleep in each other's arms. Many years ago, they had 2 dreams. In the dream, there was him and her. "Uncle, are you still not done?" Gong Jinglin came to visit Sheng Yin again. In his opinion, given his uncle's current situation, he would definitely be able to help him do a lot of things if his brain recovered. He trusted his uncle more than anyone else. Unfortunately, his uncle still didn't recover. Tang Ying was a little regretful. "Maybe it's because my medical skills are not good enough." She looked at Sheng Yin, who was walking hand in hand with Tang Gua to watch the hens lay eggs. "I originally wanted to treat brother-in-law, but I overestimated myself." "Forget it, Ying, you've already done your best. Don't force yourself. Let's go. Don't disturb uncle and aunt." "Yes, just now, big sister also told me not to treat him." "It's fine whether I treat him or not." The two of them got into the carriage and left. "Wife, have those 2 little ones left?" Sheng Yin, who was squatting in the forest and watching the hens lay eggs, did not dare to look back. He scratched Tang Gua's palm with an angry expression. "That brat Gong Jinglin always wants me to work for him when my brain recovers. In his dreams. They're gone. You don't have to pretend anymore." Tang Gua replied with a smile. "Little fool, you're still smart. You know how to pretend to be stupid. If you're busy working every day, who will accompany me to watch the hens lay eggs, right? That's right. There are so many cows, but they don't order them around. They keep staring at me all day. If I go to work, who will accompany my wife? Sheng Yin hugged Tang Guo's waist with a satisfied expression. Working and having power. How can it be better than holding my wife's hand and taking a walk in the forest? System, it's better to go into the forest together. He. After living a comfortable life, Tang Guo woke up in a very luxurious room. She was currently sitting in front of the computer. On the computer interface was a very handsome game character dressed in ancient clothing. Next to the game character was his name, attributes, skills, land, and a series of other things. Tang Guo glanced at the name on the computer interface, husband raising plan. Dear host, this world seems to be a little exciting. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.